Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today. You're listening to the Battlefield Live radio program with Chris and Trey from Lanterns.buzz, Battlefield.buzz, and We Are America Radio and Red State Talk Radio. I want to thank you for joining us today. And got a ton of stuff to talk about. We had Thanksgiving just recently, as well as the lovely Black Friday, which, man, there's a ton of stuff that we could talk about with that.
Black Fridays matter.
Yeah.
Fridays matter.
So Trey, what'd you do for Black Friday? I'm sure you were up nice and early and waiting in line over at the Walmart, local Walmart, right?
It's weird, man. I thought that'd be on a day that's called Black Friday. I've gone all over the city of New Orleans, and I can't find any of the Black Friday rallies. I wanted to, stand shoulder to shoulder with all the Black Friday Matters people, and I couldn't find any of them.
Scotty here, Santa's head gift wrapper.
Yeah.
I rely on Scotch.
Is that you?
Tape, the classic multi-purpose tape
I don't
you
know.
trust. It's frosty on the roll, yet invisible on the job. So I can give any
So,
gift a little
I don't even have the
See
internet open on my computer.
scotchbrand.com/holiday.
It might be my Drudge I got open. Sometimes little things pop up on there.
Well,
So,
luckily this isn't the live segment.
yeah, live segment would that'd be all messed up. So, how was your Thanksgiving, man?
Man, I tell you what, from a food standpoint, purely speaking from a food standpoint, goes down in the annals as one of the overall best.
Really?
Oh man, look, melitong stuffing, oyster dressing, artichoke casserole. The turkey was on point. It was half roasted, half smoked. Organic candied yams. I mean, dude, and like literally, I brought home yams that were still dirty because they had just been taken out the mud.
I hear you. So, I fried a turkey yesterday, and wife made some awesome cornbread, and she made some fresh cranberry sauce. She always makes fresh cranberry sauce.
She makes it fresh?
Yes, dude. She makes it
She
fresh.
doesn't use the canned form?
Oh, no. And what's really crazy, too, is I really do like the canned stuff.
How come we don't ever buy that and eat that at any other time?
I don't know. I mean, I
Here,
could eat it right
that
out of the
stuff is
can.
Great.
It is great.
I could just get like a can, open it, and take a spoon and just eat that.
Oh, we could put a little chocolate on top.
What?
I didn't even think about that just until now.
It can't be real fattening either.
No. I mean, I imagine it's full of sugar.
We should start the cranberry sauce diet.
The cranberry sauce diet?
We'll pioneer it. You eat 2 cans a day and nothing else for 6 months, and you guaranteed to lose 3 pounds.
Oh, yes. I'm sure the first sitting would be really nice. You know what kind of sitting I'm talking about.
No, it comes out looking like your colon.
All right. So we'll be back in a live segment here on the Battlefield Live radio program. Stick with us. We're going to have a blast today. So we'll be right back.
we're here to fix the machine.
Battlefield Live. You've entered the Battlefield Live with Chris and Trey from We Are America Radio and Red State Talk Radio. Wanted to thank you for joining us today. And we've got tons of stuff to cover, including Thanksgiving, Black Friday, ISIS, George Bush, and all of those things together, what they have in common.
Ooh, yummy.
What do you think about that? Is that a gumbo, if you will?
I'm looking at the table presented before me, and man, I'm just salivating ready to get into that.
What's going to be interesting is how can we meld all that together, right? What do they all have in common?
'Tis the season to beat your neighbor. La 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 la.
So, how about leftovers, man? You got any leftovers?
There's all the leftovers we keep at the in-laws' house.
Right.
And I think they do that intentionally so that we go and visit them outside of just the day of Thanksgiving.
Right.
Which is cool because it also means I don't have to clean up at the crib. But there is something about eating cold oyster dressing that I just love.
Really? I never thought of eating cold oyster dressing.
Listen, this is my. I don't know if this is good, bad, if this makes me weird or quirky. I don't know. I like food fresh.
Right. Me too.
When it's cooked. But
right.
Once it cools down and then goes into the refrigerator, I don't like to reheat food.
I would imagine that's common, though.
Because reheating food, to me, is like recooking it.
Right.
So now it's twice cooked.
So
I prefer either to take it out of the refrigerator and let it warm up to room temperature.
Right.
Or there's certain foods that I like that I just eat them cold. And oyster dressing is one of them. Pizza is another.
But I mean, but you have to have had things that you froze and ate, and they were much better the second go around, like gumbo or I don't know, spaghetti. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, I'm sure you have those things.
Yeah, no, my mom, she used to cook she would cook like a huge pot of something, serve us, and then take the leftovers and put right on, take an old country crock butter container that she had, cleaned out and put some in there and then store it in the freezer, and you'd have meals down the road. Right. But even that she would take and she would put it into the pot and she would slowly warm it back up through the pot so as not to twice cook it.
Huh.
But if you just take something out and then drop it in the microwave, it's ugh. Then it doesn't heat, so you got the center of it is still cold, and the outside is too hot, and I don't know, it's just something about it.
So let me ask you this: was there any politics at the table?
You know what? There always is. My mother-in-law makes me look like a liberal progressive. She's so conservative.
Come on.
I mean, she steamrolls through all of Beck and O'Reilly's books, and she literally, my father-in-law gets frustrated with her because she always has the Fox News channel on.
Good Lord.
So when I go over there, I know she's getting ready to be did you hear about this? And so it's good, and she loves listening to the show. So mother-in-law, if you're listening to the show, howdy. She loves Chris and Trey. She just thinks we're hilarious. So at least there's one person out there.
That's just at least one, huh?
Right.
Hey, I have a great story. I had a how should I put this? I had a friend. Well, no, it's actually now family member. So family member that we were, eating dinner. Everything was nice, and nobody was talking politics. And this person had made a comment about George Bush, and this is right around when Barack Obama got elected.
Right.
And he was going to be marrying. It's actually my. How do I figure this out now? It's my dad. This is strange. Okay, this is southern families here. My
Yeah, this is Bayou, Louisiana.
yeah. So it's my dad got remarried after my mother passed, and it's his wife's niece. Okay, so his wife niece was getting married, and the fiance was at the dinner table and it was bad mouthing Bush and all this stuff, and I kind of wouldn't say anything. Well, the father-in-law, like, totally just got into the dude's face on at the table, and I was
Got
like,
into his face?
not really physically in his face, but like just, with the rhetoric, right?
Okay.
And I was like, all right, this is not good. And then it kind of cooled down, and we got up and went into the other room, and we were just kind of picking off of the the desserts and things like that.
Right.
And he walks up, and he said something else, and I just couldn't let it go. So I said, just kind of nice and calm, in a calm way, said that doesn't even make any sense, and I basically told him what I thought. The future father-in-law comes walking. Next thing you know, it's like a full-blown O'Reilly, freaking Fox News,
What?
Oh yeah, it was ugly, dude. And of course Barbara walks up when the guy
Is the guy a liberal?
Oh yeah, big time. And so I kind of just walked off, and because Barbara was mad at me, my wife was mad at me,
Of course.
and, yeah, and
Your fault.
I just kind of walked away, and I was like, all right, I'll let that kind of ride. And man, to this day, that whole scenario has kind of like I don't know, it's kind of got us like in a one of those don't mention politics at the dinner table again.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So
Well, but you know what though? Here's the bottom line. I imagine if you go and eat or play golf with Rush Limbaugh,
right,
you like here's the thing. I never bring up controversial issues.
right. Neither do I.
You know what I'm saying? I don't ever bring them up. But if you come at me, and by you coming at me, whether it's intentionally or accidentally, if you bring up something that is clearly wrong, you are offering me the opportunity to correct you.
That's correct.
You are offering the opportunity for me to educate you.
But that doesn't fit into the liberal dogma. They don't want to get anything in return when they make a comment like that.
Yeah, correct. They just want to punch, and then they want to like get out.
Right.
And they know. And listen, liberals are great at this because they will say things to indoctrinate
Right.
and to like perpetuate that idea of indoctrination
Right.
at every opportunity.
Well, isn't
And
this
what they
kind of
don't like is they don't like being challenged, and they don't like information refuting what they're saying.
isn't this kind of playing out, to what is going on in the universities? I mean, the universities now are, it's almost like a free speech or a free speech zone or I don't even know how to say it, but basically all the liberals are coming out and they're getting all their panties in a bunch when anything conservative comes about. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, isn't the colleges doing just that? It's like a reflection of that.
Yeah, but we talked about this a couple weeks ago with Missouri. That's the great irony of the whole thing with the people in Missouri,
Right.
or at the University of Missouri, or at any university for this matter, because it's like listen. If you're a millennial liberal,
Right.
right, like you're at home on a college campus,
Right.
like you're not coming to Tuesday night's Tea Party meeting.
Right.
You know what I mean? You are at home. These professors, they love your mushy gray matter that is unformed, and they love the fact that you still. I listened to a homeschool graduation speech given, and the kid was excited about venturing out into the world because he wanted to really begin to end homelessness.
Right.
Now, I know that this kid is a conservative kid, but it's just the naivety of young life to think that clearly someone hasn't looked at the problems of the world the struggles of humanity, and surely I'll be able to go out there and do it. You know,
Right.
fix it. You don't even have to be liberal. You just got to be young and dumb.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so funny. Oh, the schools are violating my rights. We shouldn't have to pay, and we should get debt removed, and I want $15 an hour. If it wasn't, I mean, are these kids going to Hillsdale? I mean, what's the deal? What I mean, it's just the irony on so many levels.
It's just a big temper tantrum. It's a
You're
pity
at
party
the
temper
wrong
tantrum.
place to be making that argument.
Right. I don't know.
If anything, kick out your professors who have lied to you and told you that this was possible.
Right. And don't get all pissy and moany and upset about your feminist, your modern feminism degree and why it can't get you a damn job.
Right. Think about before this, Chris. You had the girl who carried around her dorm mattress. Did you hear about this story?
No. This sounds
A couple of
very
months
interesting.
ago, she claimed she had been raped. Okay.
Oh, God.
And so the university investigated, and the university investigator said, "Listen, honey, you are a little easy, and you've had a lot of one-nighters and all-nighters, and
So in other words, you're a whore.
yeah, you're right, a whore. And sorry, but listen, you know, this was not rape." So she then goes to the police. Police investigate. They say it's not rape. Sorry. So she, in protest, carried her dorm mattress on her back for like the next several weeks. I mean, if you Google search mattress girl, you'll see this girl, and other girls around the country start doing the same thing in solidarity to stand against college rape.
Oh, God. This sounds very interesting. Look, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back on the Battlefield Live radio program, we're going to have a ton of stuff to discuss, and I got some audio here. I wanted to get Trey's response on it, so we'll be back after the break. Stick with us.
Guess who's number one?
Guess who's the number one political talk radio on Live 365? You got it. War. Guess who can't stand it? The liberals. This is War. We are America Radio.
This is Vito. And this is Vito. And you can listen to the Vito and Vito show every Thursday night, 8 p.m. right here on We Are America Radio. Bringing you the best in conservative talk. In Brooklyn, it's nothing but the truth.
Will you today, as is your normal tradition of doing radio, will you leave the radio program today ravaged and hungry and go get a foot-long sandwich from Subway?
A $5 foot long?
A $5 foot-long.
I'm sure Jared's going to be looking forward to that when he goes to jail.
Wow.
I mean, come on, dude. I mean, that dude's a piece of crap, huh?
I really didn't see that coming. And I guess in jail, neither will he.
Yeah, he won't. I mean, we should just stop this right now.
What? Yeah, that's what he's going to say. What?
Listen to the new Battlefield of Ideas radio program with Chris D'Elia and Trey Roberts every Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio Network, the number one talk radio station on Live 365.
We may be surrounded. We may be outnumbered. We may be outgunned. But we'll never, ever stop the fight. Not while we're behind enemy lines. On We Are America Radio. Wednesday night, 10 p.m. War.
This whole idea of Trump and just being an everyday guy with tons of money is an anomaly in itself, but it shows that he's not a politician. People are sick of politicians.
Now, you understand,
that Trump is a 7 times billionaire. Okay,
Right.
he's not like you and I. Okay,
Right.
Mitt Romney was not nearly as wealthy as Donald Trump, and people said he wasn't like us. So don't get it twisted. And Trump doesn't even comb his hair like us.
Is that hair? I thought he'd need a chin strap for that thing.
I just hope he killed it before he put it on his head.
I'm waiting for it to move around, really.
I think he likes Davy Crockett.
I'm looking for the tail every time he
I'm
turns
waiting
around.
for the coon tail to fall out underneath the brim.
Listen to the new Battlefield of Ideas radio program with Chris Pilier and Trey Roberts every Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio Network, the #1 talk radio station on Live 365.
Guess who's number one?
Guess who's the #1 political talk radio on Live 365? You got it. War. Guess who can't stand it? The liberals. This is war. We are America Radio.
We're here to fix the machine.
Thank you for sticking with us on the battlefield. This is Chris and Trey with Lanterns.buzz, Battlefield.buzz. We Are America Radio and Red State Talk Radio. I wanted to thank you for joining us today. And so, Trey, I got something I wanted to play, and I actually got a couple things I want to play. But this one particularly, it's a video that ISIS put out. Did you see this video by chance?
Well, I've seen a lot of ISIS's videos, but I don't know if I've seen this one. Which one are we talking about?
This one is a particular ISIS video that is like, I guess you could say propaganda for ISIS, but it's in English.
Oh.
Okay? So I want you to listen to this, and it's probably about 3 minutes long, so I want to stop on a couple different spots and just kind of get your thoughts on what the guy is saying.
Is this a recent video?
Yes, it's very recent.
All right.
So check this out, and strap in. Check this out.
This is our Khilafah in all its glory, remaining and expanding. It was established in the year 1435 Hijri. Its leader from the tribe of Quraysh is Sheikh Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, and its territory is already greater than Britain, 8 times the size of Belgium and 30 times the size of Qatar. It's a state built on the prophetic methodology, striving to follow the Quran and Sunnah, not a secular state built on man-made laws whose soldiers fight for the interests of Taghut legislators, liars, fornicators, corporations, and for the freedoms of sodomites.
Stop.
We are men honored.
All right.
This is an SNL skit.
I'm serious.
This is released by ISIS.
This is an ISIS video, I swear. And you, I don't know if you got to see the video. You're obviously just hearing the audio right now.
Every Muslim that I've spoken to has tried to tell me that, one, this group is not Muslim, they're secular. And the ones who have agreed that these people are somehow distorting Islam, they told me that ISIS is an Islamic cult.
Okay.
And we just heard from ISIS state that they are building and doing what they do on the prophetic methodology and following the Quran and the Surah and the Sunni,
Right. And
which is like the Hadith and the teachings of Muhammad.
dude, what I thought was fascinating, and you didn't get to see the video here, was when they said about fornicators. They showed a video of Bill Clinton.
Are you serious?
I swear.
Oh, this is great. Okay, let's continue.
All right, sorry, check this out. Here we go.
With Islam, who climbed its peaks to perform jihad, answering the call to unite under one flag. This is the source of our glory,
Wait,
our
stop.
obedience to our.
Is that voiceover? Is that the same guy who does the work at the Blaze?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm telling you, this
I think the guy goes, "This is the Blaze." That's the same guy.
So are you saying that him and Glenn Beck got something going on?
I'm saying that guy, either that or it's one of the voices from Sound Bunny that we heard.
All right, check
Keep
this out.
going,
It gets
keep going.
good. Check
That
this out.
guy's voice is great, but keep going.
All right, we gotta hire him for the show.
And listen, find out, be like, hey, put a tweet out there and say, whoever, if you could give me the voiceover guy for ISIS, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we could have like beheadings on the video.
Like Sean Hannity, he says the thank you, whatever his name is, and we could be like, thank you, ISIS voiceover guy. Welcome to the battlefield.
Yeah, that's Scott Shannon.
Scott Shannon.
Yeah. All right, check this out.
Lord, we are uncompromising in our call to Tawheed. We only bow to Allah, unlike the countless deviant factions raising their false banners and changing with the winds of Jahili politics. Yes, we are the soldiers who stop the idols of nationalism, demolish the shirky symbols of Palmyra and Nineveh, and destroy the Sykes-Picot borders. For there is no...
Did you just hear that?
I did. And matter of fact, I can imagine the video because I remember seeing ISIS destroying those temples and those museums with all those like 4,000 and 5,000 year old statues, and then destroying the borders of Sykes-Picot.
So if any of you don't know about Sykes-Picot, we're not going to do we got to go here to break in a sec, but I want to mention Sykes-Picot because we've been saying for quite a long time now that the whole movement of ISIL, which I call ISIL, some people like to call it ISIS because it's
No, hold on. We cannot call listen, I'll wait till after the break, but I want to make the case that we should never call ISIS ISIL.
Okay, I'd like to hear that because I'm all, to me, this whole funding of ISIS is all for destroying Israel.
Well, that's why you call it ISIL. See, if you are for the destruction of Israel, the Levant is Israel.
But that's the point of ISIS.
If you say ISIL, you're saying that Israel doesn't even exist. That's just the Levant.
Okay, well, that may be somewhat a semantics.
That's why Barack does it. Barack is the only one that I hear say every time he references them. Look, it's why Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio wants to declare war on ISIS.
All right, so let's go over that after the break. But what I want to say about Sykes-Picot were the two ambassadors. One of them was from England, one of them was from France around World War I, and they more or less re-engineered the borders, if you will.
They carved up the Middle East.
That's correct.
As it is today.
That's correct. And so ISIS or ISIL, whatever you want to call them, has made it a point, and it's in their propaganda video now that they're trying to destroy all of these borders in order to eliminate and exterminate Jews. Is really what it boils down to.
This is nothing new, Chris, because the very first video ever released by ISIS was them talking about destroying Sykes-Picot.
Right. All right, let's listen to just another minute of it here.
Go ahead.
Honor to be found in the remnants of shirk and nationalism, and no difference between an Arab and a non-Arab, or a black man and a white man, except through piety. This is the glory of faith that unites us. Justice is served with the establishment of the Islamic courts, and there are thousands of masajid and schools for our cubs and pearls, where they prepare themselves to share in the great rewards of expanding this Khilafah. America, you claim to have the greatest army history has known. You may have the numbers and weapons, but your soldiers lack the will and resolve. Still scarred from their defeats in Afghanistan and Iraq, they return dead or suicidal, with over 6,500 of them killing themselves each year. So while you go around cooking the facts on the results of your military airstrikes, we continue to haunt the minds of your soldiers and sow fear into their hearts, with 18 of your soldiers committing suicide each day before we even advanced. And in addition to the $6 trillion price tag on your war against the Muslims, you're now too weak to put boots on the ground. You opt instead to attack us from the air with missiles, each worth $250,000, while we send your proxies to hell with 50-cent bullets. Then there's your new coalition of devils, with Iran, Turkey and Russia joining the fray. That's because the Milov Kufr will always unite you together to fight the truth. So bring it on, all of you. Your numbers only increase us in faith, and we're counting your banners, which our prophet said would reach 80 in number. And then, the flames of war will finally burn you on the hills of death. Bring it on, for we echo the mighty call of our prophets. Gather your allies, plot against us, and show us no respite. Our ally is the greatest. He is Allah, and all glory belongs to him.
So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, I know Trey is I could see it in his eyes. He's wanting to jump out of his skin. But but the point that I want to make is that part of that video is right. And we're gonna discuss that here back at the end of the this next segment here. So stick with us. We'll be right back on the Battlefield Live radio program.
My name is Sierra Marley, and I want you to check out my new radio show, Patriot Politics, on War Radio, every Monday night, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be discussing news that affects my generation, giving you my opinion on the news of the day, holding contests, and a few more surprises. Support this right-leaning millennial each week, and let's wake more of my generation up. That's Patriot Politics, Monday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, only on War Radio, the #1 political talk radio station on Live 365.
You are listening to War, the #1 political talk radio station on Live 365 Radio, where conservatives, libertarians, and Tea Party make it happen.
I'm not like the others you might have heard. Some say I'm a thug, some say I'm a nerd. One thing's for sure is that I keep it real. The hidden report, now you know the deal. Tune in Tuesdays at 9 p.m. with your host Angel Rodriguez and Jonathan Pantaleon, right here on War Radio. We're gonna give you a very different perspective on politics, current events, and whatever we feel like yapping about. Tune in.
Well, I'm really interested in the fact that they're digging up the body of this former Klans leader, the founder of the Ku Klux Klan. What are they going to do with that guy? I don't know. I mean, are they going to push him off to some island somewhere? I mean, where are they going to bury him? What's interesting to me, and I wrote about this on Lanterns of Liberty, this guy with the KKK, the founder of the KKK, I mean, he was honored at the 1868 Democratic National Convention. Think about that. And now the Democrats are digging his body up. I mean, they are really, truly playing out The Walking Dead here, aren't they?
Clint Eastwood is going to loan that guy the chair that he used when he spoke at the GOP convention.
Yeah.
And they're going to put up that guy as the honorary.
That's what I'm thinking. Listen to the new Battlefield of Ideas radio program with Chris Pilier and Trey Roberts every Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio Network, the #1 talk radio station on Live 365. Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today.
You're listening to War. We are America Radio.
We're here to fix the machine.
Thank you for joining us on the Battlefield Live radio program. Look, be sure to go to lanterns.buzz and battlefield.buzz. Those are our two websites. Tons of information there. You can also go to News Ninja 2012 and redstatetalkradio.com. And also you can pick up our book. If you didn't hear it during the break, we have a promo that runs on our breaks for Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, where we more or less compile tons of information that you can, you don't have to go out and do all this research. We've done it for you. And if you read this book, it will outline the progression of socialism in this country and how it has undermined our country. And in fact, in segueing into this video that we just played in the previous hour, or the previous segment, I'm sorry, Trey, and you tell me what you think here, but I believe that some of the points that was made by this evil bastard from ISIS, or at least their spokesperson, right, that some of the things that they were talking about was the fall of the United States, or part of the fall of the United States that we're seeing now, are actually correct. Like the ridiculous amount of spending that we're doing, the fact that they made a point that a lot of our soldiers are killing themselves. We're not taking care of our soldiers here at home. Also, this idea that we've become a secular country, which we could probably talk about that for an hour. But some of the points that that person was making, of course, he was making a case for his evil ideology in Islam. But some of the points he was making were true. What do you think about that?
I think our political elite, the oligarchy that is and resides in both the Republican and the Democrat Party, have, for their own benefits, weakened our nation over the past 20, 24, 25 years.
Right.
And so, the fact that this president comes into office with a $10 trillion debt and doubles it to 20 by the time he's out. Paul Ryan takes office as the Speaker of the House, and within 2 weeks, the debt spikes up over $580-something billion in his first couple of weeks. That budget hawk.
Right.
Yeah, I agree that a lot of what this guy is saying, obviously he's putting a pro-ISIS spin on it, but this is what we're doing to ourselves.
Right.
This is not as a result of ISIS defeating us or Islam defeating us as Muhammad, prophesied, or as Allah. And make no doubt about it, Allah is Satan.
Right. I agree.
So these people worship the worst of God's created beings, okay?
Right.
And they're completely given over to that mindset. Now this is a group of people, and if you follow the Quran, and if you follow the Hadith, the teachings of Muhammad, if you follow those things, this to you seems almost inevitable. In Christianity, there's a theology, Chris, called Calvinism.
Right.
And basically it just says this, that God determines everything. There is no free will.
Right.
That's the same thing as Islam.
Right.
Islam believes that everything that's going to happen is inevitably going to happen. And they operate, they live that way moving forward, that no matter how many setbacks they get, no matter how many times they're pushed back, they just continue. There's another wave coming. There's a whole new group coming. And eventually, look, we're seeing a big lunge forward in Islam right now. But our soldiers are killing themselves because we won't clearly identify the enemy, and they feel like they're over there. They don't have any rhyme or reason or purpose behind why they're fighting. I really believe that. I think that that's a huge reason for so many of these suicides. Then they're coming back to a society, to a country that for the most part has abandoned the real cure for distress and for the real pain relief, and that's the religious community.
Right.
Hell, our book is called The Progression of Secular Socialism. So yeah, I think our nation has become way more secular.
So to me, what's so fascinating about this, and you just mentioned it just a few minutes ago, was that we've done this to ourselves.
That's right.
And the weaknesses that we have are being pointed out by our enemy. And they're the same weaknesses that we're seeing.
And they're just claiming it as they're the ones that are responsible for causing them.
That's correct. And I think that is really, really telling. And
well, Chris, who was it that said that the United States will never be taken by a foreign country, but its fall or its collapse will always happen from within?
It was either like Madison or Ben Franklin or Thomas Jefferson. One of the founding fathers said that.
Right.
And that's the truth. It's that the backbone of the country is not secularism. The backbone of the country is a faith in God, specifically a Judeo-Christian God, and the community coming together and being a moral one. And what ISIS is mentioning in this video is that's what's destroying us.
I found it. Here we go. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. Abraham Lincoln.
So are you saying that ISIS is somewhat a studier of founders?
No, what I'm saying is that they are clearly taking advantage of... Listen, it's the emperor's new clothes, Chris.
And is that what the progressives are doing the same thing? They know that we could destroy ourselves from embracing a secular government.
Yeah,
or
listen,
a secular
side of the political aisle, Chris, that came up with things like Cloward Piven.
Right.
They know that they have to put the only way. Remember, these people are revolutionaries. We're talking about the progressives.
Right.
They are revolutionaries, and they know that the only way that this thing collapses is for immense chaos and revolution in the streets.
Well, look, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go into the fun-filled segment of the Rapid Fire Hour, all right, Rapid Fire segment. So stick with us. We'll be back from the Battlefield Live radio program just shortly after this short pause. Thank you.
Guess who's number one?
Guess who's the number one political talk radio on Live 365? You got it. War. Guess who can't stand it? The liberals. This is war. We are America Radio.
Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today.
You are listening to War Radio, the #1 political talk show on Live 365. It's crazy out there. I mean, what do you believe anymore? The media spins everything. So tune in Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. On the Duke Majado Show, we're going to set the record straight and talk about the issues on War Radio. And I want to thank the listeners for the 80,000, that's right, 80,000 live streams this week on War Radio.
In these days and times, are you looking for someone sitting on the sidelines, waiting for things to happen? I hope not. Well, look no further. Yours truly, Dan Adams. My show, The Political Heat, live on War Radio, Monday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing that conservative soul, taking away those Monday blues. We are America Radio.
You're listening to War. We are America Radio.
We're here to fix the machine.
So check this one out. This is Carly Fiorina. Check this out.
At first, I was not for it. I mean, I thought, I'm a traditionalist. I'm older than most people in the audience, you know. I mean, I kind of like tradition, and, you know, it's always been a man and a woman. And,
wait, I thought you said you were playing a Carly Fiorina
That is
clip.
Well, it looks like Carly.
Wait, hold on. That I recognize that voice, and that voice sounds like the conservative transgender.
It is very hard to run the show and be the show.
Chris,
so
you've got to pay attention.
I missed the clip. I'm sorry.
You have to pay attention.
All right,
you cannot be playing Caitlyn Jenner clips and thinking that it's Carly Fiorina.
It's Bruce Jenner, not Caitlyn Jenner. Listen to the new Battlefield Live radio program every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio, the #1 radio station on Live 365. You won't regret it.
We're here to fix the machine.
Thank you for sticking with us on the Battlefield Live radio program. And we are now going to enter into the rapid fire segment. And so Trey, what have you got for us today? I don't hear you, Trey.
Let me unmute my microphone. That would always help. Let's see here. Chris, I don't know if you heard, we just got finished talking about it, and I know we're going to pick it up again in the top of the next hour. But part of what is fueling ISIS is homemade cocaine.
Oh, I did hear about this.
ISIS is part of the reason that they are so psychotic is that they're using a notorious, cheap, and easy to produce cocaine-like drug, which allows them to keep fighting for hours on end, often with little food or sleep, and it also triggers psychotic episodes.
Really?
So you've got like crazy, these people are believing, as we heard in the video, a prophetic methodology, and they're backing it with real Monster energy drinks or jihadi juice or whatever other nickname.
I like the jihadi juice.
To us go to T-Rob Radio or at Lanterns Buzz and tweet to us what would be a funny name for Islamic State energy drink. If they started producing an energy drink, what would it be called? So you can go to Paul Revere again, or T-Rob Radio, or Lanterns Buzz, and the winner Whoever tweets in the best, we'll run a contest. We'll send you a copy of. We'll get in touch with you and send you a copy of our book for free. All right, so that doesn't bode well for us when Michelle Obama's got us eating kale chips and no sugar, and these guys are rocking paint thinner to stay amped up. Chris, I don't know if you knew this or not, but a shocking number of Americans don't have a toilet.
Wait, what?
Yes, and I'm not sure. I know probably last week you celebrated World Toilet Day, right?
Yes, absolutely. And you would never believe how I celebrated.
3 times to the toilet in one day.
I bet you don't know how I celebrated that.
Well, I can imagine. But it's a recent holiday that's been created. It's not a traditional holiday. I'm not sure if you knew that or not.
No. I actually thought it was.
But going to the toilet, Chris, it wasn't always a pleasant and risk-free experience for everyone.
Really? You're saying that it was dangerous? I mean, it's still dangerous for me sometimes, but...
Well, even today, many people in America still go without proper sanitation.
Right.
But there are more than 1.1 million American households that, when they drop trowel, they are still having to do it in the stereotypical rural shack out back.
No.
It represents 0.04% of the U.S. population. And here in 2015, there is a full 13% of the entire world's population that still live without access to improved sanitation facilities.
Is this just only hunting season?
No, this is not just the hunting season. And by the way, in Louisiana, where you and I live, between 1.5% to 2.2% of our fellow Louisianians had the least access. Now, take a guess. I'm only going to give you 2. What state had the highest percentage of outhouse or lack of an inside toilet?
Mississippi.
Mississippi, although it ranks up there, it is not the highest. One more guess.
Georgia.
No, Georgia's actually on the lower end. Alaska.
Well, yeah.
12% of Alaskans do not have toilets.
Really?
Which, man, that only seems to me like that's a bad situation all the way around.
I mean, you got to figure that they have turd ice cubes over there.
Now, this, Chris, I think this one will go down as the Creative Entrepreneurship Award for this segment.
Okay.
This comes to us from N Live, Wesley Robinson. And let me read you the title first. That way you'll get an idea of what this is about. Woman accused of operating prostitution ring. Quote, it was massages with free fun after work.
Oh, really? Like Parcheesi?
Listen, she found a way. Don't call me a prostitute. I give massages. And if I'm digging the guy that I'm giving massages to, we go have some fun after work.
So she's just saying it's a volunteer thing.
The only thing she's claiming to get paid for is she's a masseuse. And there is nothing wrong.
She's got to be a cunning linguist.
Right? Have you ever paid to get a massage, Chris?
Yes, actually I have.
They're great. I mean,
yes.
They're relaxing. They release all type of toxins and chakras and
chakras.
Yeah, I think that's what Al Gore called
So are
it.
you saying that she's a cunning linguist?
I don't know that to be the case. I don't know, but clever for her and figuring out a way to get and spur on entrepreneurship in America today. Chris, did you know?
Do they give an address?
I don't have her address or any
right.
of her business information.
All right.
I think she's currently sitting in jail where she has a lot of clientele right now. In which case, she may have become a cunning linguist.
Oh, Lord.
That being said, Chris, if you are ever eating in front of, if you are ever eating around women when they're watching you eat, chances are, a new study says, you're probably going to eat like a horse.
Really? Are they saying that I'm eating like a horse, or is just
No. Women are prone to eat like a bird when men are watching.
You talk about quantity versus quality?
I'm talking about definitely quantity.
Okay.
But men seem to, in a recent study by U.S. behavioral scientists, which I'm so glad that the United States funds behavioral scientists.
Yes.
Like Pavlov and other Leninists.
That's right.
They say that they went to an all-you-can-eat Italian buffet. And they found that men who dined with at least one woman at the table ate 93% more pizza than their peers who only had male dining companions.
Is that because you were... This doesn't even make any sense.
I know! This is great! The tendency to overeat extended to healthier fare as well. Men ate 86% more salad in the company of women.
So, let me ask you
this one I can explain.
All right.
Because my wife is going to be like, seriously, you're going to eat another piece of pizza? Get your fat up and go eat some salad. Right?
So let me ask you this. Is this the answer to why men get fat when they get married?
Exactly. See, now you're getting it. It's not because of any other I think it's part of the way that God has programmed us to come off the market.
Okay.
So once we
I can see that.
Marry our wife for a lifetime, we eat with her every single night and every day.
All right. So are you saying that
we eat more and we get fatter and we become less attractive to the general population, which promotes a greater amount of loyalty and fidelity.
All right. So are you saying that me working out goes against God's plan?
It is completely demonic. If you're working out, you are a part of ISIS.
Yes, I'm there. I am there. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Now, that being said, let's see here. Let's find another. We talked about cocaine. Oh, here we go. This one is great. This comes to us from this is the Burlington Free Press.
Okay, this sounds great.
It's a Gannett company.
A what?
Gannett.
What's a Gannett?
I don't know. I guess it's a media company.
Okay, all right.
But the title of it is Pioneers of Pee Cycling.
Pee cycling?
Urine's value.
What?
Yes, there are a group of people who are pioneering pee cycling.
Is this during hunting season too? Huh?
They collect pee and then they store it and they let it ferment.
Yeah.
But what happens is as it ferments, it becomes hyper awesome fertilizer.
Okay.
So the Department of Agriculture and the EPA are pasteurizing urine as first-class fertilizer, and they're just saying, hey, why waste it? Instead of wasting it, this guy carries around with him a 5-gallon jug everywhere he goes.
Oh my God!
Strange amber-colored liquid in it.
Bet he's got a lot of friends.
He brings his jug as a self-service pumping station. And, he says there are times where he, uses a bathroom because he understands that whipping it out and putting it into the gallon jug could be offensive in some cases to some people.
Can you see eating with him at the Italian buffet?
I don't want to be in 10 miles of that guy. I wish I could see the photos of this story because there is just cases upon cases of urine that these people are operating with.
Oh, Lord. Well, look, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back into the second hour. We're going to dig more into this discussion with ISIS, and we're going to bring in a George Bush. Yes, we'll bring in George Bush in the next hour or so. Stick with us here on the Battlefield Live radio program with We Are America Radio, Red State Talk Radio. We're from lanterns.buzz and battlefield.buzz. Be sure to go to those two websites, as well as follow us on Twitter at lanterns.buzz and on Facebook at facebook.com/LanternsBuzz. We'll be back right after the break. Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today. You're joining us on the Battlefield Live radio program. I want to thank you for sticking with us, and we're now going into the second hour. And so Trey, did you do any hunting this past week at all?
No, man. As a matter of fact, I got a picture from a close friend of mine who killed a ram. And man, dude, this thing had the horns on this thing had to be probably almost 5 feet wide, dude.
Really?
I mean, it was gorgeous. I was so envious.
Man, I went and did some fishing down in Cocodrie. Have you been to Cocodrie before?
I have.
Man, let me tell you what. It had to have been, I don't know, 35, 40 degrees outside with the wind blowing about 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, you went when it was pretty cold.
Oh, man, it was really cold. But we prepared for it and got all suited up in our nice warm clothing, and we killed the sheephead, man. I must have caught, well, I would say between the 4 of us or 5 of us, we caught about, I don't know, 25, 30 sheephead. I mean, we were just killing them. We couldn't catch redfish to save our lives. I think we caught one redfish and caught a couple of drum, but man, I'm looking forward to cooking them up. Yeah, but it's not. I'm talking about like puppy drum or
like red drum.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, your red drum is really redfish, but anyway, we had a great time. Spent a lot of time with my son and my dad. It was really
that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, I tell you what, it's those times that you have the best conversations with your loved ones, and that's what the holidays are all about. I mean, to me, taking vacation during the holidays is the best thing for me because you really do get to have a good holiday, and fishing was really, really, really enjoyable. But we got to get together and go fishing sometime, dude.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't have a means of being able to do it, but if you got the boat, I got the time.
Well, that's the thing. We need to try to see if I can schedule some more trips. And
we got a guy here. Listen, if we're gonna go out of Lafitte because I got a guy that I've been on. He's a charter captain.
Right.
Best trips you're ever gonna go on. I'll reach out to him and we'll schedule it for. We'll see about taking
Taylor.
For some reason I was gonna say Tyler.
Oh, he'd have a blast.
But we'll take Taylor and Victoria, and we'll go have a day of fun on the boat and catch a bunch of fish.
Absolutely. So.
And look, people listening, like, what are y'all talking about? You haven't lived until you've been down to Louisiana and experienced the lush sportsman's paradise that this place is. Listen, you can catch bass, redfish, drum. I mean, you can catch like fresh and saltwater fish basically in the same areas and just sit right there and just kill them all day long.
That's right. Well, look, we're going to go into the second hour here, the live segment. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this real short pause, and we're going to dig into some more of the topics that we were talking about earlier, including ISIS. And I got a video from George Bush I want to watch. So stick with us.
We're here to fix the machine.
Battlefield Live. You're listening to the Battlefield Live with Chris and Trey from We Are America Radio, Red State Talk Radio, Lanterns.buzz, and Battlefield.buzz. Want to thank you for joining us today. And I don't know about you, Trey, but I've been, obviously George Bush, speaking specifically, had his issues, right? I mean, he was a progressive. He did expand government. But I can say that I truly believe that George Bush was really looking out for the interest of keeping people safe in the homeland. Wouldn't you say? I'm speaking from from foreign attackers, if you will. Not necessarily from the monetary or fiscal responsibility side of that.
Well, listen, I'm
You're struggling with
hesitating
this.
because I think if I say yes, I agree with you, then in essence, I'm saying that I believe that Barack Obama wants Americans to die and be unsafe.
Not necessarily.
And I don't necessarily believe that Barack wants to see a bunch of Americans killed.
Well, let me say it differently then, because I agree with you. I'm not trying to say that Barack Obama is sitting in his bathroom with a newspaper and going, "Man, I bet you I'd love to see a bunch of Americans die." Yeah,
but I think there are a lot of people, especially conservatives,
right,
who really do believe that Barack does want to see Americans hurt or us less safe. Now, listen, you want to talk about American influence in the world? I believe he wants to lower that, but
ideologically, his position is what ultimately will hurt the country. Right. In other words, we're going to get attacked due to his ideology, not because his wish is to get us attacked. Right.
No, I would agree with that, and I also think that a big difference is that I believe George Bush is fond or was fond of America. I believe he loved America.
Right.
Whereas Barack Obama really doesn't have those same feelings for America and its traditions and its history.
Right. So let's play this video. I got a video here. It's probably, I don't know, a couple minutes long, and we can break in at any time. So at any time you have a thought that you want to discuss something, just tell me to shut it down. So check this out.
Our nation deserves a serious debate about Iraq because the outcome of this conflict will have enormous consequences for our country. Failure in Iraq would allow terrorists to operate from a safe haven with access to the world's third largest oil reserves. Failure in Iraq would increase the probability that at some later date American troops would have to return to Iraq to confront an enemy more dangerous and more entrenched. Failure in Iraq would send an unmistakable signal to America's enemies that our country can be bullied into retreat.
Damn.
America's involvement in Iraq does not have to end this way. Our main enemy is Al-Qaeda and its affiliates. Their allies choose their victims indiscriminately. They murder the innocent to advance a focused and clear ideology. They seek to establish a radical Islamic caliphate so they can impose a brutal new order on unwilling people. The interesting thing about the Iraq debate, by the way, is I don't hear a lot of discussions about what happens if we fail. But there needs to be a serious discussion about what happens if we create a vacuum into which radical movements flow. If you're worried about Iran, then it's really important that people understand the consequences of us leaving before the job is done. I am deeply concerned about what would happen in the Middle East should America's credibility be diminished as a result of us not keeping our word, as a result of us abandoning millions of people who are anxious to live in a stable, secure, free society. These enemies have embraced a cult of death. They are determined to bring days of even greater destruction on our people. They seek the world's most dangerous weapons. Against this kind of enemy, there is only one effective response. We must go on the offense, stay on the offense, and take the fight to them. Just this week, our military forces announced the capture of one of al-Qaeda's top Iraqi leaders. He helped to form what al-Qaeda calls the Islamic State in Iraq, an attempt to replicate what the Taliban had created in Afghanistan. Our enemy, the enemies of freedom, love chaos. Out of that chaos, they could find new safe havens. Withdrawal would have emboldened these radicals and extremists. It would have confirmed their belief that our nations were weak. It would help them gain new recruits, new resources. It would cause them to believe they could strike free nations at their choice. Withdrawal would have increased the probability that coalition troops would be forced to return to Iraq one day and confront an enemy that is even more dangerous. Failure in Iraq should be unacceptable to the civilized world. The risks are enormous. So after an extensive review, I ordered a new...
What do you think of that, dude?
Man, I know that those are over time at different places. Were those all during his presidency?
Yes, all in 2007, actually.
Did you put that together, or did someone throw it out there?
No, it was out there.
Well, first of all, the first thing that jumps out at me is that first part of the clip was so dead right.
Right.
I mean, it was so correct. His warnings. Now, I can remember listening to Bush, especially from probably after the time he was reelected through the end of his second term. I remember hearing him all the time talking about if we fail in Iraq. And all I ever heard from the media was how that was ambiguous. Like, nobody knew what that meant. Well, now, the second thing that jumps out at me from that clip is he says we captured somebody in northern Iraq attempting to create something known as the Islamic State.
Right.
So first of all, that series of clips completely throws out the left's argument that, you know, hey, this is some new thing. This isn't Al-Qaeda. So, like, Obama knew going into the White House or shortly after he got in what was going on.
And he knew that they were trying to create a caliphate.
And so he also had to know, because the military was probably advising him on this, that if we pull out of Iraq, it will create a vacuum. And like Bush said, listen, ISIS, we've seen them to be far more entrenched, far more dangerous, and with greater resources because they have access to the world's third largest oil fields. And they're making $40 million a month. Now Chris, let me ask you this. Is our intelligence in general so bad that we can't figure out who ISIS's clients are?
No, I think that our intelligence is really good. We have a bunch of leaders that don't listen to the intelligent.
So if we know that, for instance, if we know that a country is buying oil from ISIS,
which they are,
isn't that an act of war?
Absolutely.
Because you're funding them?
Absolutely.
So is it because we don't have the the moral fortitude to issue a warning to one of these? If, for instance, it's Turkey. Turkey is a NATO ally.
Right.
Shouldn't we be having some backdoor deal saying, hey, we're either going to kick you out of NATO and then we're going to bomb the crap out of you if you don't stop buying ISIS's oil?
Well, we would do that if we weren't ruling, and I like to use the word ruling from the White House in an ideological standpoint. He's taking an ideological position. That's why he pulled out of Iraq. It was strictly ideology and why he did that. He felt that we were being colonial in nature.
Well,
colonialist.
Was it that, Chris, or was it the fact that he just wanted to do something? He did it right before the election.
I think that what he did there was a number of things that he was doing. First and foremost, a lot of the people that elected him wanted him to pull out of Iraq. Secondly, as we were talking about earlier, which we really never got into the discussion, we only got 3 minutes left here, so I don't know if we can get cut.
Well, we can pick it back up in the next set. We can set it up.
But I think that truly he wants to see the downfall of Israel because of his belief that Sykes-Picot was a colonialist act against good people.
Yes. Now you're making a point that they're never gonna make the connection.
No, and one of the things too is that it's really borderline. I would almost say borderline treason, because not only are you undermining our allies, but you're undermining the United States, right? I hate to throw the word treason out there because I think it's used far too often. But the bottom line is that empowering our enemies and empowering, people like groups like Iran or I should say groups, but countries like Iran and groups like ISIS and things of that nature, in order to undermine all our allies is really what it boils down to. I think it's terrible,
No, it's definitely terrible, but I mean, again, if it's politically expedient, and if you believe that America is the problem in the world and not the solution, then, and we'll talk about it in great detail in the next segment, but if you understand, there was no United Nations at the time, and the American people at the time of Sykes-Picot basically had rejected Wilson's League of Nations because Americans, even in the early 1900s, did not want to abdicate their national sovereignty to a global government.
That was built on ideology.
That was built on progressive ideology.
That's right. So look, we're going to take a quick break. We come back, we're going to discuss more of this Sykes-Picot, as well as ISIL versus ISIS. Why should we not call it ISIL, or why should we call it ISIL? We'll talk about that here when we get back. Stick with us.
Guess who's number one?
Guess who's the number one political talk radio on Live 365? You got it, war. Guess who can't stand it? The liberals. This is war. We are America Radio.
This is Vito. And this is Vito. And you can listen to the Vito and Vito show every Thursday night, 8 p.m. right here on We Are America Radio. Bringing you the best in conservative talk. In Brooklyn, it's nothing but the truth.
Will you today, as is your normal tradition of doing radio, will you leave the radio program today ravaged and hungry and go get a foot-long sandwich from Subway?
A $5 foot-long?
A $5 foot-long.
I'm sure Jared's going to be looking forward to that when he goes to jail.
Wow.
I mean, come on, dude. I mean, that dude's a piece of crap, huh?
I really didn't see that coming. And I guess in jail, neither will he.
Yeah, he won't. I mean, we should just stop this right now.
What? Yeah, that's what he's going to say. What?
Listen to the new Battlefield of Ideas radio program with Chris Killier and Trey Roberts every Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio Network, the number one talk radio station on Live 365.
We may be surrounded. We may be outnumbered. We may be outgunned. but we'll never, ever stop the fight. Not while we're behind enemy lines on We Are America Radio. Wednesday night, 10 p.m.
This whole idea of Trump and just being an everyday guy with tons of money is an anomaly in itself, but it shows that he's not a politician. People are sick of politicians.
Now, you understand that Trump is a 7 times billionaire, okay?
Right.
He's not like you and I, okay?
Right.
Mitt Romney was not nearly as wealthy as Donald Trump, and people said he wasn't like us. So don't get it twisted, and Trump doesn't even comb his hair like us.
Is that hair? I thought he'd need a chin strap for that thing.
I just hope he killed it before he put it on his head.
I'm waiting for it to move around, really.
I think he likes Davy Crockett.
I'm looking for the tail every time he turns
I'm
around.
waiting for the coon tail to fall out underneath the brim.
Listen to the new Battlefield of Ideas radio program with Chris Pilier and Trey Roberts every Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio Network, the #1 talk radio station on Live 365.
Guess who's number one?
Guess who's the #1 political talk radio on Live 365? You got it. War. Guess who can't stand it? The liberals. This is War. We Are America Radio.
We're here to fix the machine.
Thank you for joining us on the battlefield. This is Chris, and I'm joined here with Trey from Lanterns.buzz, Battlefield.buzz. We Are America Radio and Red State Talk Radio. And our question for the show is, what would an energy drink that ISIS would come out with, what would we call it? In other words, if it was an ISIS energy drink, actually Dan Zimmerman came up with Hijacked Octane. How about that one, Trey?
Hijacked Octane.
Hijacked Octane.
A
little weak? Are you only saying this because it's Dan?
No, it's a little cumbersome. It's too many syllables. It's too long. Won't fit on a can.
And so, what was yours? What did you come up with?
What there's jihadi juice.
I like the jihadi juice.
Yeah, jihadi juice has kind of a nice ring to it. You've got just Islamic Coke.
Islamic Coke.
Yeah.
All right. So we were talking about
a Muslim monster.
Or Muslim monster. I like that. Yeah, that actually is very suitable. It's got the double entendre thing going on there.
Right.
So we were talking about ISIS versus ISIL. So
okay. Yes. All right. So let me just make the case here. If you go back 100 years ago, remember 1947, the UN made the declaration that stated that they were going to recognize both a Palestinian as well as a Jewish state. The Arabs at the time, who was mostly from Turkey and Egypt, arguing on behalf of the Muslim interest in the Levant, said no. We're not going to accept a two-state solution, because the moment we do that, we void Sykes-Picot. So, okay, I was going to say, I was going to tell you that we're on live stream, but I realized that we're not. So let me just continue. So
but
anyway,
you realize that I got the ability to switch back. So
no, I forgot you can mix it like that. That's cool. Anyway, so you have the area that is now today Israel, known as the Levant. And the Levant, ISIL comes out and calls themselves the Islamic State, including the Levant.
Right.
Which is ISIL's way of saying, we're not even going to recognize Israel's existence as a country. We believe that we are supposed to own and therefore eliminate Israel, and we're supposed to own the Levant as well.
But isn't the Levant a region that it still exists, even though Israel is a state?
No, the Levant. If you look up what they talk about with the Levant was the Holy Land. Remember, this was an international space of land that was more or less governed by the British. The Balfour Declaration, which came a couple of years after, Sykes-Picot, the Balfour Declaration just basically was Britain's acknowledgement that they would begin to start advocating in the national or the international community for a Jewish state.
All right,
in
so
the Holy Land.
So the Levant, as defined by Wikipedia, is an approximate historical geographical term.
I think about that. An approximate historical.
Right. Referring to a large area in the Eastern Mediterranean. It's in its widest historical sense. The Levant included all of the Eastern Mediterranean with its islands. That is, it includes all the countries along the Eastern Mediterranean shores, extending from Greece to Cyrenaica. I didn't even heard of that. The term Levant entered English in the late 15th century from France. It derives from the Italian word levante, which means rising, implying the rising of the sun in the east. As such, the broad equivalent to the Arabic term mashriq, the land where the sun rises. The Western counterpart in Arabic is I didn't get onto all that stuff, but all right. So this is my point.
So watch, hold on real quick. Do me a quick favor, since you're on the internet. Just type in Levant map and look at the picture that comes up.
Well, they got one right here on Wikipedia, and it shows. Okay. It basically shows a portion of northern Africa. It shows Turkey. It shows Iraq, Syria,
no.
Israel.
Watch, do it. Type in Levant map, Levant map, and then hit web. And the first thing you should see is a Google map.
This is interesting radio.
No, this is great radio.
I ought to put the mic down by my keyboard.
That's all right. So now watch.
All right.
So if you're looking at the same map that I'm looking at, you see Lebanon,
right?
Syria, Jordan, and Israel. None of Iraq.
Well, that's
none of Egypt.
Okay.
Now remember, let's look at this from a historical standpoint. 1947, the United Nations is willing to give and acknowledge a two-state solution in the Holy Land. They were going to create Palestine, and they were going to create Israel. Israel said, okay. The Muslim community, arguing from Turkey and Egypt, said no. So they gave, meaning the international community, gave Jordan control of the West Bank. Now you go to 1963, the 6-Day War. And you've got Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. They attack Israel. In that war, not only does Israel thwart their attack, but Israel takes the Golan Heights to the north, takes the West Bank, and then controls Gaza and the Sinai Peninsula. So they not only were attacked by all these different Muslim countries, but they pushed back and gained land. Now, they've never given back the Golan Heights, which is really part of Syria and Lebanon. They took control of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and in 78 at the Camp David Accords with Carter and Yasser Arafat and I forget the Israeli prime minister at the time, but they come across the land for peace. They give Sinai Peninsula back to Egypt, Anwar Sadat. They give it back to Egypt, and you basically have now the borders as we see them now.
All right.
But they're in Syria, Chris.
I understand that, but my point is this. They're saying that they're ISIL because they want back the Ottoman Empire. They want,
sure, absolutely.
They want the Levant back. So why would we not call them that?
Israel cannot exist.
I understand it, but that's what they believe. I'm not that just by calling them that I don't validate the.
No, you are. You're validating.
How though?
Because
that's what they want.
We are the group that belongs here minus Israel.
I know, but that's what they want. That's what they name themselves. To call them just an Iraq and Syria, they want more than Iraq and Syria.
Well, look.
They want that whole region of the world.
No. I agree with you on that. What I'm saying is by calling them ISIL, the name that they want to be called, we are legitimizing them. So I say to call them either IS or ISIS, we're saying we're not calling you ISIL. We're not going to legitimize your stake. Listen, it's like what we see right now. Marco Rubio thinks that Congress should declare war against ISIS. Ted Cruz, also in the Senate, says no, we should not. And the reason that the two of them say we should is one, because Marco Rubio thinks that we should declare, that way we can authorize and send more funds, send more troops, do more bombs, whatever. Whereas Ted Cruz says, man, if we declare war, they're not a real nation.
So the point is that do we look at them and legitimize them, or we just think of them? I mean, there's a lot of things here that if you don't legitimize them, you do not gain benefit from. Things like funding and all.
Dude, I think it's Obama kicking sand in the face of Israel. He believes
I
Israel
agree.
should not be in that region.
I agree. Look, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to finish this because this is some good stuff. So stick with us here on the Battlefield Live radio program with Chris and Trey, and we'll be back after the break.
Hey everybody, my name is Sierra Marley, and I want you to check out my new radio show, Patriot Politics, on War Radio every Monday night, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be discussing news that affects my generation, giving you my opinion on the news of the day, holding contests, and a few more surprises. Support this right-leaning millennial each week, and let's wake more of my generation up. That's Patriot Politics, Monday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, only on War Radio, the #1 political talk radio station on Live 365.
You are listening to War, the #1 political talk radio station on Live 365 Radio, where conservatives, libertarians, and Tea Party make it happen.
I'm not like the others you might have heard. Some say I'm a thug, some say I'm a nerd. One thing's for sure is that I keep it real. The hidden report, now you know the deal.
Tune in Tuesdays at 9 p.m. with your host Angel Rodriguez and Jonathan Pantaleone, right here on War Radio. We're going to give you a very different perspective on politics, current events, and whatever we feel like yapping about. Tune in.
Well, I'm really interested in the fact that they're digging up the body of this former Klans leader, the founder of the Ku Klux Klan.
What are they going to do with that guy?
I don't know. I mean, are they gonna push him off to some island somewhere? I mean, where are they going to bury him? What's interesting to me, and I wrote about this on Lanterns of Liberty, this guy with the KKK, the founder of the KKK, I mean, he was honored at the 1868 Democratic National Convention. Think about that. And now the Democrats are digging his body up. I mean, they are really, truly playing out The Walking Dead here, aren't they?
Clint Eastwood is going to loan that guy the chair that he used when he spoke at the GOP convention.
Yeah.
And they're going to put up that guy as the honorary.
That's what I'm thinking. Listen to the new Battlefield of Ideas radio program with Chris Pilier and Trey Roberts every Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio Network, the #1 talk radio station on Live 365. Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today.
You're listening to War. We are America Radio.
We're here to fix the machine.
Thank you for sticking with us. This is Chris and Trey from Lanterns.Buzz, Battlefield.Buzz, and you're listening to the Battlefield Live radio program on We Are America Radio, Red State Talk Radio. So Trey.
So Chris, you think we should call him ISIL?
To me, I don't understand. I understand what people are trying to say about not legitimizing this threat, but it is a legitimate threat.
And it's always keeping us in the forefront of what their real intention is.
That's been my point all along, is that we should call them ISIL because they want to destroy Israel. Nobody talks about Israel in this whole thing. It's always about what they're doing with Syria and Russia and Iraq. Their real intentions are to restore the caliphate. That's why they call themselves a state. Let's call it what it is.
But Chris, don't they have to, if they're going to restore the caliphate, they're going to need more than the Levant. They're going to have to take full control of Iraq. They're going to have to take full control because, remember, ISIS is pretty much Sunni. So they hate Iran.
That's right.
And the Kurds and the Turks in the north.
That's right.
So they are going to have to basically oust Assad and take control of Syria, and then ultimately, begin to move. I don't know which direction they move next. It just seems to me like they're going to go the route of chaos.
Well, yeah, and they've actually said that that's what they're about. And the thing is that I truly believe that if we don't understand the enemy, we'll never beat the enemy. And to understand what their true intentions are is that they are a part of the radical groups that are taking over Northern Africa, the groups that are taking over Syria and Iraq. They want to destroy Israel. They want to destroy Jordan. They want to destroy Turkey. They want to own that whole section of the world to create the new Ottoman Empire or the new caliphate.
Yeah.
And they say it in that video. And so for us to look at them as just a nuisance, first of all, there's legal implications because if you don't declare them as an enemy, or there's a lot of funding sources that get held up. If you don't, declare war, there's a lot of different things here, and we probably don't have time in a whole day to discuss them all. But if you don't legitimize the true threat, I have a feeling that it we'll never defeat them because let's look at it in contrast to, what we experienced in World War II. With the Nazis in Germany, as well as the fascists in Italy, right? We saw them as a true threat, and we waged war on them. Okay.
Yeah, but they were a nation.
They were a nation, but we're dealing with a whole different stage in time. In World War I, we were fighting the the Central Powers, which included the Ottoman Empire.
But the Ottoman Empire had defined borders.
They did, but it was a caliphate. It really the influence was a lot further than just its borders. The fact is that this threat that we face with ISIS and ISIL, they are trying to establish borders. They are trying to take over these nations, and they're doing it. If you look at their sphere of influence and what they control, it is a huge portion of that part of the world. Mostly in Syria and Iraq. But their influence is spread all throughout Northern Africa,
right?
All throughout that region, and they're actually going to Europe. And the reason why they're attacking the Europeans is because they want to bring the fight to the homeland. This is a part of their prophecy. is that the West will fight them on their land. That's why they want us to come there. I say we take it to them.
So you think they're provoking a fight?
Absolutely, they're provoking a fight.
For what reason, though? Not because they think they can destroy us or beat us.
Because that is the prophecy. That is what they are.
But the prophecy is that they win.
They are on the. That's correct. They're on the flip side of what you know about the in the Bible about the last days when Russia and there's no actual mention.
Yeah, they
of
don't
America.
actually say it, but they say things like Gog and Magog, and
that's correct. So this falls in line with the same thing. They are trying to bring about the end of times. They want to bring about the end of times, and the end of times in their prophecy is they will beat the devil. In their mind, it's America, Israel, the West. They will beat the devil on their land. So they're trying to provoke that. They're trying to bring that on. That's why Iran wants nuclear weapons. They want to bring on the apocalypse.
Yeah, but the Shiites are different than the Sunni in terms of their eschatology. The Sunnis don't believe. They're not 12ers. They don't believe in the 12th Imam.
That's correct.
So the Shiites have a little bit different end times philosophy. They believe that what the Bible calls the Antichrist and the beast, they believe is the final salvation to Muslims, where that guy comes and ultimately restores Islam. Because remember, in Islam, everyone is born a Muslim.
Right.
When someone chooses Islam that wasn't through tradition or through their family or ethnically or whatever Muslim, and they become a Muslim, they're not converting to Islam, they're reverting to Islam.
Right.
But I want to quote to you real quick. This is from the late Muammar Gaddafi. We have 50 million Muslims in Europe. There are signs that Allah will grant Islam victory in Europe without swords, without guns, without conquest. Will turn it into a Muslim continent within a few decades.
And they're talking they're talking about the subversionary aspect of Islam. They're talking about culturally changing Europe.
Yeah, they're talking about changing Europe to basically a Muslim majority continent with the sword in your pants.
Right. That's right.
I read an article this week that talked about Jewish millennials.
Right.
By numbers unseen are going to Israel. And I think this is the part of the return, the return to Israel, if you will, that we see. How is it that so many Israelis are going to be gathered together in such large numbers in Israel? And I think this is the beginning of the migration of all of the Jewish, the European Jews back to Israel.
Really?
It's the completion of Zionism, I believe.
Right. Okay.
Because what you're going to see is over the next 10 years, the Jews are going to be the only group that will not intermarry with the Muslims in Europe. The Muslims are going to take European wives from every major country, and they're going to blur the ethnic lines and just raise these kids as Muslims.
And it's interesting how that fits into the left-wing agenda, right? Whether they are a part of that. Well, I mean, the multiculturalism, the idea of the destruction of the West. I mean, to me, that's one of the reasons why people like Barack Obama, whether he's a Muslim or not, is looking at Muslims as an ideal type of society, because they wish to do this. They wish to destroy the West. And people of the far left want to destroy the West too. So to me,
right now I'm with you. I'm tracking with you. I wasn't really tracking with you where you were going with that. Keep going. You're right.
Right. So anyway, but look, we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about this in the next hour.
Whoa.
But we got the rapid fire segment coming up. So here, stick with us. We'll be right back after the short pause.
on the Battlefield Live radio program. Stick with us.
Guess who's number one?
Guess who's the number one political talk radio on Live 365? You got it, war. Guess who can't stand it? The liberals. This is war. We are America Radio.
Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today.
You are listening to War Radio, the number one political talk show on Live 365. It's crazy out there. I mean, what do you believe anymore? The media spins everything. So tune in Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. On the Duke Machado Show, we're going to set the record straight and talk about the issues on War Radio. And I want to thank the listeners for the 80,000, that's right, 80,000 live streams this week on War Radio.
In these days and times, are you looking for someone sitting on the sidelines, waiting for things to happen? I hope not. Well, look no further. Yours truly, Dan Adams. My show, The Political Heat, live on War Radio, Monday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing that conservative soul, taking away those Monday blues. We are America Radio.
You're listening to War. We are America Radio.
We're here to fix the machine.
So check this one out. This is Carly Fiorina. Check this out.
At first, I was not for it. I mean, I thought, I'm a traditionalist. I'm older than most people in the audience, you know. I mean, I kind of like tradition, and, you know, it's always been a man and a woman. And,
Wait, I thought you said you were playing a Carly Fiorina
That is
clip.
Well, it looks like Carly.
Wait, hold on. That I recognize that voice, and that voice sounds like the conservative transgender.
It is very hard to run the show and be the show.
Because
so
you've got to pay attention.
I missed the clip. I'm sorry.
You have to pay attention.
All right,
you cannot be playing Caitlyn Jenner clips and thinking that it's Carly Fiorina.
It's Bruce Jenner, not Caitlyn Jenner. Listen to the new Battlefield Live radio program every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio, the number one radio station on Live 365. You won't regret it.
We're here to fix the machine.
You're listening to the Battlefield Live radio program on We Are America Radio and Red State Talk Radio. I want to thank you for joining us. I also want to thank Wayne Dupree and Primo Mondone for giving us the opportunity. We are actually now, this is pretty cool, on War Radio, we are now live on video on Ustream. So it definitely gives you a different outlook on our program, and you get to see how gorgeous the Trey Roberts is.
Beautiful.
Yes. So Trey, what segment is this, by the way?
This is the rapid fire section of the show. Bottom of every hour, we run through some stories that really don't deserve segments of time, but are in the news weekly and just kind of give you a quick overview of the denigration of our society and culture, of morals and values that are just being thrown out the window as we speak all around us, and hopefully wake you up to the fact that this world will never be the same. So with that in mind, Chris, I want to start with the King of Sweden. The King of Sweden, this according to the DailyMail.com, he now feels ashamed and is calling for a ban on baths.
A ban on baths?
That's right. He says you should not be able to just bathe whenever you want to.
He wasn't a former member of the Grateful Dead, was he?
He was not, although he does look it. But he says that it's time to ban baths to help save the environment. King Carl the 16th Gustav once had a reputation as a Lothario.
My God.
Is now a staunch environmentalist and said that he realized how much water and energy they used when he was recently staying somewhere without a shower.
We are doomed.
The 69-year-old Green King, possibly because of his lack of showering, told the Swedish newspaper, the Svenska Dagbladet.
Say it again.
The Svenska Dagbladet. He said, quote, "It hit me how much water and energy is used. And I thought, I can't believe I'm having to do this. And I felt quite ashamed."
Oh,
I
Lord.
think personally, he just looked in the mirror and felt quite ashamed.
Or you can
And a
tune into our
totally
YouTube
unrelated
channel.
Story. This comes to us from CBS Eyeball News in Houston.
Right.
Texas man accused of assaulting girlfriend for refusing to smell his armpit.
You know, I often think of doing that sometimes, you know? Hey,
I
baby,
did
come
my
smell
little
this.
One time, and I told her that I had a new deodorant and made her smell my armpit, which was very rankus. And she won't ever let me live. She reminds me often about how mean I was to her.
Oh, yeah.
And I have apologized often because I do deeply feel bad. But CBS 7 reports that Robinson Penilla Bolivar's girlfriend got into an argument while she was washing dishes, and he asked her to smell his armpit. She reportedly refused. An argument reportedly ensued, in which case she was hit in the back of the head with a closed fist and held up against a knife.
Good Lord.
He told the authorities he did not threaten the woman and that he threw the knife into the sink angrily, which she didn't like. The man's being held on a $25,000 bond
For not smelling an armpit.
Now, Chris, I didn't know if you were going to be on the show today because of the robot conference that's going on in Europe right now.
Wait, what is that supposed to mean?
Well, the world's sexiest robot steals the spotlight at the tech show, but creators say she's not perfect.
Well, did you say she?
The Android Geminoid F is still a work in progress, but you can actually go online and see her. And look, we all love robots.
And what? And what's her name?
She's the Android Geminoid F.
Android Geminoid F.
That's right. She is created by Hiroshi Ishiguro Laboratory in Osaka University.
Ooh, she's kind of hot.
Geminoid F was the star attraction as people crowded around her to have their picture taken and to speak to the android, and some people have even remarked that they found Geminoid F, quote, sexy.
Yeah, but she's kind of like, she's Asian.
Well,
Isn't that kind of racist?
I don't know, is that racist?
I don't know. Why would they make it Asian?
Well, I think this is an inanimate object, so this would be an Oriental robot.
Are you saying this is ornamental?
This is definitely ornamental.
It depends on your relationship with the robot, whether it's ornamental or not.
Well, they're saying that with her, this is like her resume on Match.com. With her,
she's going Match.com. Weird dude.
And acting talent.
Does she like to bathe?
Geminoid F has acting talent.
Really?
And you might think she has it all, but
dude, hold on a second. I've actually stumbled across the female android Geminoid F in lingerie. I swear. I've actually run across this on the internet. They have her in lingerie.
I'm glad we don't use that in our segment.
I mean, is this almost like looking at Bruce Jenner's side boob? This is almost as disturbing. This is almost as disturbing.
Well, apparently Spike Lee, Chris, is now listening to our show.
Really?
Last week we reported that
correct.
the women of the South Side of Chicago, they were taking matters into their own hands. And they were calling for all the fellas who are out there gangbanging to stop with the gang violence. And they're going on sex strikes.
That's right. We reported on that.
Now Spike Lee comes out, and Spike Lee says that female students on college campuses everywhere should go on sex strikes to combat campus rape.
I don't even know what to say. Like, this is so
Spike
stupid.
Lee has said that a sex strike by women could help prevent sexual harassment as well on U.S. college
I mean,
campuses.
hasn't the left been promoting female promiscuity for so long, and now all of a sudden they're trying to cut it out?
Is it, or is it just the next logical step? Because first they tell women, sling your goods out there like it's going out of style.
Like it's a pair of dice.
Because you do take chances in doing that.
That's true. That's true.
But now what they're saying is now you take control of it, and now just grab it and say no.
Right.
You're not getting any of this until you stop raping people.
I just don't know. I don't know. It's like anything else from the left. I just don't understand it.
In fact, it was Stephen Colbert who said the second semester of the school year, it's going to happen. He says once people come back from Christmas and some stuff jumps off, there's going to be sex strikes in universities and college campuses across the country. Chris, here's my question.
Is that a bad thing?
Listen, could that spur on like high morality on our college campuses?
No. There'll be a lot of these Android Mermaid Fs, whatever the hell you call it. I don't even know what to call it.
Yes, the Mermaid F. And they say
Internet
Android,
speeds will begin to slow all around campuses all around the country as the porn business takes a boom.
Well, there is a guy who spent 4 years, Chris, and $35,000 to unmask his internet troll.
Wait, what?
Yep. There is a guy. His name is Bill Hadley. Hadley is a Sandusky waiting to be exposed. Now, if you're not familiar with Jerry Sandusky, this is the guy, of course, who raped children for a ton of years while being a defensive coordinator at the University of Penn State.
Right.
But he has a guy on his social media that's been trolling him, and this guy spent like 4 years trying to find out who this person was, and he has spent over $35,000 trying to unmask this guy for who he is.
What a freaking loser, huh?
Which one?
Both of them.
I mean, is it really that simple? You can block the guy.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, why do you take so much? That's narcissism at its best, isn't it?
But the guy is trying to set precedent and saying that he wants a minimum of $50,000 of damages. So, any surprise that there's a money grab that's wanting to be perpetrated here?
Yeah, there's no surprise there.
And speaking of suing stuff for pretty frivolous reasons, Chris, this comes out of CBS Atlanta. Lawyers have the lowest health and the highest rate of alcohol use.
Okay.
So, they might be among white-collar workers, according to the new study, but they are of the highest users and abusers of alcohol and nicotine.
No surprise there.
No surprise whatsoever. And I think it goes a little bit further that the stress of their job, but also just kind of the toxic environment that these people have to constantly be in. You know what I mean?
That's right. Well, look, we're going to be going into the third hour here. Be sure to check us out on lanterns.buzz, battlefield.buzz. You can follow us on Twitter at Paul Revere again. That's my Twitter. His Twitter is TRobRadio. You can also follow the show Twitter page at LanternsBuzz. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/LanternsBuzz. You can get our book at Amazon.com and Lulu.com. The book's name is Deus Ex Machina, and by all means, check out NewsNinja2012.com as well as RedStateTalkRadio.com. So stick with us. We're going to go into the third hour, and we are still going to have tons of fun with tons of information to share. Hang out. Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today. You're listening to the Battlefield Live radio program with Chris and Trey from Lanterns.buzz and Battlefield.buzz. So Trey, you've been keeping an eye on what's going on with Les Miles over at LSU?
Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Goodbye.
So you think he's going or what?
Dude, he needs to go.
Yeah, his
Listen,
record.
LSU has not been able to get a quality quarterback to complement, its phenomenal recruiting in other areas.
I mean,
if we just had a decent quarterback.
Well, his record,
his
with the SEC is under 500, I believe. Since the last championship that he lost.
And that championship, LSU has one championship under Les Miles, right?
That's correct, and it was right after Saban.
The rest of what was left over from Saban's players.
That's right. Now look, you got to give it to him. He's had a ton of talent on his team. He's got Beckham.
Oh, no, listen, he's got a lot of talent, but it's like Dale Brown back in the day with basketball.
That's right.
Dale Brown was a phenomenal recruiter. You had Chris Jackson. You had Shaquille O'Neal, Stanley Ross. You had a team that was preseason ranked number 2. The guy couldn't coach your way out of a paper bag.
Dude, the best basketball game I've ever been to was LSU at home playing Loyola Marymount. Yes, I was there. Were you there?
What?
Yes, I was there.
That game with
Dude.
Hank Gathers and Bo Temple?
Yes.
Dude, that was like a final score of like 140 something to 140.
Yeah, and Shaq, I mean, he was decent, but Chris Jackson was the man.
Yeah, dude.
Do you realize he had Tourette? He's got Tourette's.
Well, yeah, and he's also Muslim.
Yeah, well, that's just as bad as having Tourette's.
Abdul Rauf.
That's kind of like you catch Muslimism, right?
I don't know. Would you rather catch Muslimism or would you rather have Tourette's?
I don't know. I guess I'd rather have Tourette's, but if
totally going with Tourette's, be like.
Does he say Allah Akbar all the time?
You know what? Islam has helped him to channel his Tourette's.
Really?
That's part of the reason why.
But he didn't get it until later, right?
He got into more of the mystic side of Islam.
Oh, good
meditation and stuff.
I don't know. To me, that's just. But that was like the best basketball game ever.
No, it was one of the greatest ever. True.
So you were there?
No, but I've seen the entire game on like Classic and ESPN, and I was aware of it at the time. I went to LSU basketball camp the summer before Shaq's freshman year.
Dude, that was when
I got to play Chris Jackson one-on-one.
You see, I went to LSU when Shaq was, I think he had just left LSU.
You were in college at the time?
Right after when he left to go pro. And when he came to the school, he came to a bar that I was in one night, and he had a beer in his hand, and literally his fingers wrapped around his thumb.
Like a symbol.
Yeah, like he was holding a pencil.
Right.
But anyway, so look, we're going to come out of this short pause here. We're going to be going into the live segment. So be sure to stick with us. We still got tons of stuff to cover. And we'll be right back on the battlefield.
We're here to fix the machine.
Battlefield Live. You're listening to the Battlefield Live with Chris and Trey on We Are America Radio, Red State Talk Radio, Lanterns.buzz, and Battlefield.buzz. I want to thank you for joining me today. Still got a ton of stuff to cover. Trey, earlier I mentioned how I went on the that fishing trip.
Right.
All right, so we had 4 teenagers with us.
Wow.
And my dad, when I brought up, I was on the way. I was running a little bit late, and he asked me why I was running late. He fussing at me like he always does. And he said, I said, well, I had to,
now, right?
Yeah, I said I had to stop and get some food. He said, well, we got enough food. I said, you realize that you're gonna have 4 teenagers there?
Right.
These 4 teenagers ate us out of house and home. Let me tell you, we must have went through, I think, 40 hot dogs, 4 bags of chips.
What?
In the first day. They ate McDonald's on the way up. Anyway, the reason why this came up is because my son, the best son in the world, just brought me some Chips Ahoy's cookies that were left over from the trip. Yes. So
basically his way of thanking you for a wonderful time is to bring you the leftovers that they found probably in someone's backpack.
They're a little bit stale.
From a couple of days ago.
Yeah, well, what he's trying to do is trying to get out of housework.
There, I tell you.
He's trying to get out of housework right now, I think. Well, it may work after I get to the third.
There might be
once
be some benefit there.
Once I get to the 3rd cookie, I may have changed my mind on what his chores are this evening. I'll have to think about that.
Chips Ahoy's are really the best.
There's nothing better than a Chips Ahoy's with a
Dipped
big
in
glass of milk. Cold vitamin D milk.
Cold vitamin D organic milk.
What? Organic milk?
Oh, dude, if you've never... Listen, I dare you today to go get whole non-organic milk and then get some organic whole milk and do a side-by-side taste comparison.
Dude,
the organic milk tastes like you're drinking heavy whipping cream.
Dude, you're not like getting all liberal on me, are you?
Listen, organic whole milk tastes infinitely better than regular whole milk.
Is it pasteurized?
Of course.
Really?
Oh, dude, the flavor, it's so much more creamy. It's just great.
I'm gonna chop up that segment and play that over and over. Hey,
are we still on live stream?
Yeah, we're still on live streams. Hey, so look, I wanted to mention this because you mentioned the milk deal, right? So I went to the governor's mansion in Louisiana to meet with some of our state reps a while back. It was more for my company, construction.
Really?
And yeah, it was weird as I ran into this lady. There's all kind of lobbyists there, right? And it's like a feeding frenzy. And this lady comes up. We were just introducing ourselves to all kind of people. And this lady walks up, and she was like, her lobby was trying to get rid of pasteurization. Like, there's all kind of laws and all that in the state that prevent people from having cow farms and producing milk for the public that's not pasteurized.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was going on and on about it, and I was like, man, some people just, they have like their thing that they jump out there and support, and this woman was all about the non-pasteurized milk. She was telling us how she has cows and all this stuff. It was really weird. But hey, whatever.
Well, I know the government's spending time going after the Amish for taking their non-pasteurized milk across state lines and trying to sell it.
Are they really?
No, seriously. The DOJ has been aggressively going after the Amish community for that very thing.
That's crazy. I'm getting
No.
feedback. I'm getting feedback.
All right, well, I'll turn you down a little bit.
So, all right. So you wanted to cover something. You sent me something here in the chat.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just want to continue with, kind of what I think we've done a pretty good job over the years of doing, the podcast, the radio show, writing, and kind of just pointing what you're going to see in the future. And the liberals in Europe, they're not going to stop with the Muslim immigration. They're going to continue to take these refugees because, for the most part, they need this influx of new people and making them citizens of their country with their high birth rate to continue kind of like the nationalism, because their native populations are just simply not having enough children to repopulate the amount of people that are dying, right?
But is it an economic, like, do they see it as an economic plus, if you will, or is this more a socialist type of positioning? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that the two of those things to me sound one and the same.
Because the repercussions that I see that are coming from this is the rise of fascism, but it's not going to be from the Islamic side. In fact, it's going to be from the opposite side, where you get this nationalistic fervor in European nations that tries to eliminate the threat of Islam. So it's no different than what happened in Germany with the rise of the Nazis trying to get rid of the Jews, which the Jews in the Soviet Union were predominantly communists. And they saw that communism was a threat to Germans' nationalistic endeavors. So that is one of the things that I see that's coming with the Muslims. The people on the fascist right, not the conservative right that we know in the United States, but the large government, progressive fascist, and maybe I shouldn't use those two terms together, but the fascist right in Europe is gonna come out and be at war with this immigration, wouldn't you think? I mean, what's the lady's name from France? The right wing political
Le Pen or whatever.
Le Pen, yeah, she's a fascist. They say that she's right wing, and I see a lot of people, within the conservative ranks in political punditry and so forth, as well as on the blogosphere and also on social media, talking about how Le Pen would be a win for the West. But in fact, what you're going to see is the repercussions of this immigration create a fascistic, right-wing fascistic fervor that will ultimately, I think, create greater conflict in Europe.
Well, I think the only difference between the fascists and the communists is the communist had a global agenda and
That's
fascist has a more nationalist agenda.
That's correct. But
right? They're still authoritarian and they're still totalitarian.
Right. And it's worth going into for the folks, what we talk about the right wing in the United States is really conservatism, which is small government. The people have the solutions, federalism, those type of things. In Europe, the right wing is not the same. The right wing is, the government, supporting nationalistic endeavors as well as the national corporate infrastructure.
Right.
So it doesn't. It's not the communist side. Now there are some conservatives, like in Britain. I know there's a couple of parties, or one party specifically. I forgot which party it is, that supports what we support, and the small government. The not necessarily federalism, but representative government, things of that nature. Right.
Right, but I think it's why you'll see more Islamofascism in Europe. You're never going to see Islamocommunism.
That's correct. So basically, the socialists in Europe, what they're going to they see that the multicultural aspects, this conflict is the evolution of Europe. It's going to create. It's a utopian vision. Like they're looking at it from an ideological standpoint that Europe will fundamentally transform into this amalgamous, coalesced groups of culture that eventually, through conflict, will end up in this place where it's this utopian place where there's no borders, open society. The
but
twisted
Chris,
Karl
totally,
Popper.
if that was truly their goal, they've totally screwed the pooch.
Well, yeah,
by letting Islam in.
They always do. They always don't look through reality and common sense. They always look through the ideological, and they end up.
The only conflict that's going to come about now, as a result of this, is going to be the pushback from a few people that are going to want to come across with racist fascism.
Right, and see, another thing that I think that we don't really see yet, and we will, is when we have an economic downturn, which is going to come. At some point, there's going to be an economic downturn, and we're going to be revisiting the Weimar Republic type of Europe that was around World War II. And to me, this is just a replay. This is just a replay.
Well, but it's a replay though with different opportunities.
Different opportunities, but the same conflicting ideologies.
Well, this is the bigger goal. Communism and socialism, both from a political ideology as well as an economic system,
right,
has never taken on, faced, or truly now, I believe, understands Islam. Because Islam, in and of itself, through the implementation of Sharia law, is a financial system, is a political system, is a sociological system. Islam has a life system for every aspect of life.
Right.
Whereas if you're a conservative, primarily you're talking about belief systems lived individually and then translated into the political realm.
Right.
But what's happening, like, this is coming out of the Daily Caller. The Daily Caller that reported this.
Hey, let's cover this after the break, Trey.
Okay, cool.
We'll take a real quick break. We'll come back. Trey's going to read this article from the Daily Caller. So stick with us on the Battlefield Live radio program with Chris and Trey. We are America Radio and Red State Talk Radio. And I want to thank you all for joining us. It's only going to get better from here. Stick with us.
Guess who's number one?
Guess who's the number one political talk radio on Live 365? You got it, war. Guess who can't stand it? The liberals. This is war. We are America Radio.
This is Vito. And this is Vito. And you can listen to the Vito and Vito show every Thursday night, 8 p.m. right here on We Are America Radio. Bringing you the best in conservative talk. In Brooklyn, it's nothing but the truth.
Will you today, as is your normal tradition of doing radio, will you leave the radio program today ravaged and hungry and go get a foot-long sandwich from Subway?
A $5 footlong?
A $5 footlong.
I'm sure Jared's going to be looking forward to that when he goes to jail.
Wow.
I mean, come on, dude. I mean, that dude's a piece of crap, huh?
I really didn't see that coming. And I guess in jail, neither will he.
Yeah, he won't. I mean, we should just stop this right now.
What? Yeah, that's what he's going to say. What?
Listen to the new Battlefield of Ideas radio program with Chris Pilier and Trey Roberts every Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio Network, the #1 talk radio station on Live 365.
We may be surrounded. We may be outnumbered. We may be outgunned. But we'll never, ever stop the fight. Not while we're behind enemy lines on We Are America Radio. Wednesday night, 10 p.m.
This whole idea of Trump and just being an everyday guy with tons of money is an anomaly in itself, but it shows that he's not a politician. People are sick of politicians.
Now, you understand that Trump is a 7 times billionaire, okay?
Right.
He's not like you and I, okay?
Right.
Mitt Romney was not nearly as wealthy as Donald Trump, and people said he wasn't like us. So don't get it twisted, and Trump doesn't even comb his hair like us.
Is that hair? I thought he'd need a chin strap for that thing.
I just hope he killed it before he put it on his head.
I'm waiting for it to move around, really.
I think he likes Davy Crockett.
I'm looking for the tail every time he turns around.
I'm waiting for the coon tail to fall out underneath the brim.
Listen to the new Battlefield of Ideas radio program with Chris Pilier and Trey Roberts every Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio Network, the #1 talk radio station on Live 365.
Guess who's #1?
Guess who's the #1 political talk radio on Live 365? You got it, war. Guess who can't stand it? The liberals. This is war. We are America Radio.
We're here to fix the machine.
Thank you for joining us on the battlefield. This is Chris and Trey from lanterns.buzz, battlefield.buzz. Be sure to go to those two websites. That is our home. Tons of information there. We're going to be doing a lot of work to those websites. In fact, we get some exciting news coming out probably in the next couple of months that I think that you'll really appreciate. So be tuning in there. Also, be sure to check out, go to Amazon.com and check out our book there, Deus Ex Machina. There's a slew of information. A lot of what we talk about is in these books, or in this book, and we talk about how the United States has slowly but surely succumbed to secular socialism. And, you know, the good thing about the book is it's a reference book. You can go and you can flip through there, and there's different sections of the history in the United States within the 20th century that you can reference and you can use in conversation, dialogue with your friends and family. And there's also sources in the back. This is a very well-researched book that Trey and I spent several years putting information together and documenting all of these changes, and it's sourced. So it's not just our thoughts, it's actually fact. So be sure to do that. Also, go to News Ninja 2012 and RedStateTalkRadio.com. We have some great friends there. We couldn't do this without them, and we got a lot of listeners that have found the Battlefield Live radio program through these sources. So thank those two guys, Wayne Dupree and Primo Mondone, for their support. So Trey, you wanted to get into a Daily Caller article.
Yeah, it continues to go along with what we've been talking about pretty much today. You know, tying in all together from the beginning of the Islamic State video that you played for us into the George Bush stuff, and tying in all the quote unquote refugee immigration invasion stuff. This comes from the Daily Caller. A chief rabbi in Brussels told an Israeli radio station on Monday that there is no future for Jews in Europe. Now, granted, he's in the Belgian capital. And if you have not followed what's going on in Belgium, They call it Belgistan.
Really?
It is one of the greatest Muslim populations in all of Europe. And within 5 years, they'll have 60% of all the children in their public schools are Muslim.
Wow.
You'll see Sharia law. You'll see Sharia law be implemented in Belgium before any other country in Europe first. But he says that there is a sense of fear in the streets, and the Belgians understand that they too are targets of terror. Jews now pray in their homes as opposed to synagogues, and some of them are planning on immigrating. This guy, the guy, his name is Rabbi Avraham Gigi, or Gigi, I don't know. But he said that since Shabbat, which is the Sabbath day, the city has been paralyzed. The synagogues were closed, something that hadn't happened since World War II. People are praying alone or holding small, they call them minyanims, or small prayer groups in private homes. Schools and theaters are closed, as are most large stores, and public events are not permitted. We live in fear and wait for instructions from the police or the government. So the Jewish population in Belgium is currently at about 50,000, and you're looking at, like, say, 25,000 in Brussels, 18,000 in Antwerp. But noting that there's been a migration of Jews to Israel, as well as to Canada and the U.S., and people understand that there's just no future for Jews in Europe. And this goes, this came out, and I said this last week, and then this article came out. But I think what you're really going to see in this mass migration into Europe by Muslims is this is going to be the group of people that's going to stand their ethnic and their traditional boundaries, not amalgamate with the Muslim people, and they're only going to have one choice. They're either going to be driven back to Israel, which I believe is a very important component of kind of events playing out toward the quote-unquote end of days.
I mean, isn't that professorial? Is in the Bible it explains that?
Well, there seems to be this idea that most of, if not all of the world's Jewish population somehow or another have returned back to the Holy Land.
Right.
These are Jews, though, that continue to reject Christ. So these are not Messianic Jews. These are still people that deny basically the New Testament.
Right.
So you got to think, what would drive the world's Jewish people there? Because and that's why I still think we have some time, and events are going to continue to play out, and geopolitical scenarios are going to coalesce more and more. I think one of the big steps was seeing Russia take a major stake in the Middle East. One big event that has to happen before a lot of the major biblical, but the kind of the next big biblical road marker, if you will, is the destruction of Damascus. Damascus, depending upon who you ask, is still one of the top 3 oldest continually inhabited cities in the world.
Right.
And the Bible says that Damascus will be laid to waste.
Wow.
Now, that's never happened. And most people would say that throughout everything, throughout World War I, World War II, most of the Ottoman invasions and occupations, and most of history down throughout the times, Damascus still existed as a city. It never laid in rubble.
Right.
But you could very easily imagine with the look at just what happened just the other day with the Russian plane being shot down, lands in Syria. Turkey said it was in their airspace. The rebels that we in the United States back. So, Jews in Europe right now still have a place to go in Canada and the U.S., but the Canadian Prime Minister just came out and said, hey, we're taking more of these Syrian refugees. Well, you want to talk about a border that's more porous than our southern border, just look to our Canadian border.
Right.
Our buddy O'Keefe got in a boat and came across into the United States dressed as an ISIS operative,
I remember that,
carrying clothes filled with Ebola.
Good Lord.
There's a video of him, just like he went to the southern border, dressed like Osama bin Laden, and walked across the Rio Grande into America. he came across the northern border into, I believe, Ohio, or maybe Illinois, I forget, or maybe Michigan, I don't know. But he came through one of the Great Lakes out of Canada and dressed as an ISIS, just chartered a boat and came into the United States and wasn't even stopped by like Coast Guard or anything like that. So if, like, we need to now start having conversations with the Canadians to the north and say, listen, fill us in on what you're going to do to make sure the people that you take into your country, that you're vetting them as well, because there's nothing to stop them from coming into the United States from Canada.
Right.
So what happens? Where do the Jews have to eventually, how long will it take? How much Muslim migration, immigration, invasion, whatever you want to call it, and then them establishing, we already have Michigan has entire counties that are Muslim dominated.
Right.
So
All right.
Things are happening very, very faster than they ever have, Chris.
So look, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask Trey. I want to get his opinion on what took place in Turkey and in Syria with that fighter that got shot down. We'll dig into a little bit of that. We'll get the rapid fire segment coming up. So stick with us. We'll be back on the Battlefield Live radio program, We Are America Radio, as well as Red State Talk Radio. Stick with us. We'll be back.
Hey everybody, my name is Sierra Marley, and I want you to check out my new radio show, Patriot Politics, on War Radio every Monday night, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be discussing news that affects my generation, giving you my opinion on the news of the day, holding contests, and a few more surprises. Support this right-leaning millennial each week, and let's wake more of my generation up. That's Patriot Politics, Monday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, only on War Radio, the #1 political talk radio station on Live 365.
You are listening to War, the #1 political talk radio station on Live 365 Radio, where conservatives, libertarians, and Tea Party make it happen.
I'm not like the others you might have heard. Some say I'm a thug, some say I'm a nerd. One thing's for sure is that I keep it real. The hidden report, now you know the deal. Tune in Tuesdays at 9 p.m. with your host Angel Rodriguez and Jonathan Pantaleone, right here on War Radio. We're gonna give you a very different perspective on politics, current events, and whatever we feel like yapping about. Tune in.
Well, I'm really interested in the fact that they're digging up the body of this former Klans leader, the founder of the Ku Klux Klan, who was.
What are they going to do with that guy?
I don't know. I mean, are they gonna push him off to some island somewhere? I mean, where are they going to bury him? What's interesting to me, and I wrote about this on Lanterns of Liberty, this guy with the KKK, the founder of the KKK, I mean, he was honored at the 1868 Democratic National Convention. Think about that. And now the Democrats are digging his body up. I mean, they are really, truly playing out The Walking Dead here, aren't they?
Clint Eastwood is going to loan that guy the chair that he used when he spoke at the GOP convention.
Yeah.
And they're going to put up that guy as the honorary.
That's what I'm thinking. Listen to the new Battlefield of Ideas radio program with Chris Pilier and Trey Roberts every Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio Network, the #1 talk radio station on Live 365. Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard
and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today.
You're listening to War. We are America Radio.
We're here to fix the machine.
You're joining us on the battlefield with Chris and Trey from We Are America Radio and Red State Talk Radio and lanterns.buzz, battlefield.buzz. Is it Trey, that article that you just sent it to me in the Facebook chat room is freaking funny.
Dude, is that not the best?
I mean, is that just? I mean,
think about that. Think about that. You have a legitimate top 2 candidate in the 2 major parties sending out a email from the campaign account. And because this guy is promising so much free stuff and giving away so much stuff, Google's Gmail filter picked up an email from the Bernie Sanders campaign promising all this free crap if he's elected as a scam, as a phishing scam, and that emails like this one could be an attempt at taking your personal and financial information and using it to scam you out of your money.
Sounds kind of fishy myself.
Dude, that couldn't be a greater, it couldn't be a greater example of the scam that the socialist candidate from the Democrat Party is.
I mean, could it be that, I mean, and Google's not conservative by any means, right?
No. This is not people at Google. This is not, Schmidt, or our boy, the futurist. Kurzweil. This is their algorithmic, Gmail email filter.
Yeah, but all right. So is it that people started recognizing this in their Gmail that it was phishing, or? No. I mean, somebody had to come out and publicly say that this was a phishing scam.
No. I don't know if you use Gmail often.
Yeah, I do, unfortunately.
But if you use Gmail on a regular basis, these are messages that are automatically analyzed based on the sender and the content of the message.
Right. So what you're saying is a little message that you get that this could be phishing because it didn't come from so-and-so email address. I see that from time to time. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but look at what the email said. The email complained that America's economy is failing, stiffing working families while rewarding billionaires. My plan would make Wall Street banks profitable corporations, millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share of taxes. My plan would provide living wages for working people and ensure equal pay for women. So raising taxes to $1 trillion, spending on infrastructure, guaranteeing free tuition at public colleges and universities, raising the minimum wage, raising Social Security benefits, cutting prescription drug prices. Though all of those words are key triggers that trigger Gmail's filters because they include phrases that spammers use to try to sell prescription drugs and offer other free things of charge.
Okay. I guess maybe I didn't understand it because I'm looking at it from a technological standpoint.
Yeah, no. The way that spam filters tend to work is, you've got scoring. So the more times trigger words are used, scoring tends to go up. So if you see words like free,
right,
or you use words, or you see words like prescription drugs, it keeps triggering it.
But see, spam and phishing are two different things, right?
Yes.
So, in other words, if I'm a developer, web developer, so if I send an email to myself from my server, in other words, if I say I was messing around with our newsletter, right? We're putting a newsletter together for lanterns.buzz, and I was testing it, and I sent an email to my personal email, and it was from my personal email. So Google looked at it as a fish, possibly could be something for phishing, right? So anyway, got into
I
the
just think
gory
it's
details.
great that if you use a word like guarantee, even stupid algorithmic liberal email servers understand that that's a flag.
So
that you could be. Listen, I agree with their filter.
Right.
We are dealing with someone who is trying to scam us.
That's exactly right. That's why it's so ironic is that what he's trying to do.
The other end of that email.
Yeah, he's trying to garner votes by telling you a bunch of crap. It's BS.
Right.
And the garnering of those votes is some way or another like spam, where you're getting emails, group emails from a spam email. So
right.
I thought it's pretty brilliant. But
no, that is the best. As a matter of fact, the Republicans, I don't know why they haven't started using that as a campaign.
Because for whatever reason, they don't think this guy's a real threat. He is a threat. He's a socialist. How much more threatening can that be?
Clinton.
Every
Or
socialist ought to be
Obama.
a threat. The thing is what the Republicans are screwing up is they are not debating socialism. They're debating these one-off and defending themselves on stupid things like being called racists, instead of actually talking about substantive things and educating the American people and ignoring the progressives. That's what the progressives do. The progressives constantly talk about their ideas, their ways, which they never work, but they talk about their things, and then when they attack Republicans, all they do is say they're racist. Or all they say is, well, they're just xenophobes or whatever. That's how they deal with their opposition. And the Republicans, they don't do it like conservatives used to. Ronald Reagan used to do this beautifully and talk about conservative ideas. How our ideas work, which they do. They're time tested. So I don't know. I get frustrated when they don't see Bernie Sanders as a threat. It's not Bernie Sanders; it's his ideology that he buys into. That is really the same ideology as all the other Democratic candidates. He's the only one with enough gonads to come out and say that he is a socialist.
Yeah, and Ann Coulter, I think she's correct when she said she disagrees with anybody who says the Republicans are bad at marketing their ideas.
Well,
because the Republicans are phenomenal at tearing down other Republicans.
That's right.
But but
what are their ideas?
If they ever went after Democrats in the PR game, like they go after their own during primary season, dude, Democrats would never get elected.
And the reason why is because they don't operate from an ideological standpoint. They don't operate in the herd mentality like the Democrats do. The Democrats, they come together like a school of fish and attack, the Republican Party, which obviously their ideology.
Yeah, but the Republican Party, Chris, has the same idea. Like, they don't have opposite ideas. The only ideas that you can go after are truly conservative ideas.
Right.
Because otherwise, you don't go after the Democrats, because as a Republican, like Mitt Romney wasn't going to attack the ideas of the Democrat Party.
Right.
Neither was John McCain.
Right.
Look at how the left demonized Sarah Palin. Look at what they did to people like Dinesh D'Souza.
Right.
Look what they're doing. Look what they're going to try to do to people like Ted Cruz. Look what they're doing to Trump. Trump is just not playing their game. But these guys these men and women are putting out ideas
right
that don't fit with the RNC brand.
They don't forget. They also don't fit in the corporatist model.
That's why I think that they are more interested if Trump continues. Trump has been leading for 158 days in the polls.
Right.
No one's ever not gotten the nomination that's led in the polls by such a large margin for that long.
Right.
So if the establishment, if the donors don't come off the benches and start donating to a Rubio or to a Cruz, somebody that's got bona fide Republican Party, trends, then the establishment Republicans, they'll just go after Trump because they'd rather see Hillary get into office.
Right.
So they can just be the party of opposition once again.
Well, it's definitely very interesting. So we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into the rapid fire segment, have a little bit of fun. So stick with us. We'll loosen it up a little bit, roll up our shirt sleeves, and talk about things that nobody else is talking about. So we'll be back right after this short pause on the Battlefield Live radio program. Stick with us.
one.
Guess who's the number one political talk radio on Live 365? You got it, war. Guess who can't stand it? The liberals. This is war. We are America Radio.
Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today.
You are listening to War Radio, the number one political talk show on Live 365. It's crazy out there. I mean, what do you believe anymore? The media spins everything. So tune in Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. On the Duke Machado Show, we're going to set the record straight and talk about the issues on War Radio. And I want to thank the listeners for the 80,000, that's right, 80,000 live streams this week on War Radio.
In these days and times, are you looking for someone sitting on the sidelines, waiting for things to happen? I hope not. Well, look no further. Yours truly, Dan Adams. My show, The Political Heat, live on War Radio, Monday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing that conservative soul, taking away those Monday blues. We are America Radio.
You're listening to War. We are America Radio.
We're here to fix the machine.
So check this one out. This is Carly Fiorina. Check this out.
At first, I was not for it. I mean, I thought, I'm a traditionalist. I'm older than most people in the audience, you know. I mean, I kind of like tradition, and, you know, it's always been a man and a woman. And,
wait, I thought you said you were playing a Carly Fiorina
That is
clip.
Well, it looks like Carly.
Wait, hold on. That I recognize that voice, and that voice sounds like the conservative transgender.
It is very hard to run the show and be the show.
Chris,
so
you've got to pay attention.
I missed the clip. I'm sorry.
You have to pay attention.
All right,
you cannot be playing Caitlyn Jenner clips and thinking that it's Carly Fiorina.
It's Bruce Jenner, not Caitlyn Jenner. Listen to the new Battlefield Live radio program every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on We Are America Radio, the number one radio station on Live 365. You won't regret it.
We're here to fix the machine.
You're into the battlefield. This is Chris and Trey from We Are America Radio and Red State Talk Radio. Trey, are you all geared up and ready to go? Hello, Trey. Trey, are you there?
I am ready. Real quick, let's start with the Religion of Peace update for the week.
All right.
Since 9/11, there have been over 27,336 deadly Islamic terror attacks. Keep in mind that is since 9/11. Last week, and we're talking about the week of November 14th.
If you're keeping score.
The week of November 20th. 37 jihad attacks, 8 Allah Akbars, 434 dead bodies, and another 371 critically injured. Quick rundown. We're looking at, like, for instance, in Horipur, Bangladesh, 5 terrorists enter a Shiite mosque and open fire on worshippers, killing a 70-year-old man. Wogam, Nigeria. Boko Haram members wade into a village, hacking and shooting 18 residents to death. Tanjahar, India. Jaish-e-Mohammed gunmen storm a camp and kill a civilian. Tunisia, 15 on a bus are reduced to pulp by a Religion of Peace bomb blast. Egypt, 2 bombings at a hotel, 1 suicide attack, leaves 6 others dead. And in Israel, an 18-year-old Israeli is stabbed to death by Arabs. That's your Religion of Peace update for the week. Now, Chris, President Obama's over at the G20. I think is it the G20? No, the climate change.
Trying to save the world with climate.
Right?
Yeah.
And yet, the country he comes from, there's a new consensus. We hear all the time about the consensus on global warming. 97% of Americans aren't worried about global warming.
Surprise!
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. We're more worried about what?
3%.
Jihadis?
Say again?
I said we're a little more worried about jihadis.
Yeah. A November Fox News poll of more than 1,000 registered voters found that only 3% listed climate change as the most important issue facing the country, down 5% from August.
Wow.
Now that leads me to this. We've talked about a lot of different things that have a huge carbon footprint, from cow farts and cow burps to the
John Kerry
transportation sector.
John Kerry.
To the amount of hot air John Kerry utters out of his mouth.
Yeah, methane.
Gas. Well, let's see here. Chris, how many emails in the course of a week do you think you probably send?
How many do I send?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe 200.
And are any of those 200, are they usually short emails, or do you ever send long emails?
As a manager, I send a lot of long emails, but not all 200. Probably maybe 10% of them are long emails.
Anything with attachments?
Many emails with attachments.
Well, if you receive a spam email, even if you don't open it, it has an environmental impact of 0.3 grams of carbon dioxide of CO2 released into the environment.
See, I'm all about eliminating spam for this.
If you send an email with a large attachment, you place 50 grams of CO2 into the environment. Now, the equivalent of 5 such messages is like burning about 120 grams of coal, or 0.27 pounds. So a quarter pound of coal is the same as 5 emails with a large attachment. So here's my whole point with this. They are figuring out now that sending email is even impactful on the environment. Because these big like servers, and
right.
You could probably speak to this better than I could, but they require like major amounts of cooling.
Right.
Because they get real hot, and but they require like huge like water cooling, almost like radiators.
I don't know. I get
It's
so frustrated
amazing.
when I hear this crap.
Look, you stay home and don't send paper, so you're not cutting down trees. You don't put it in the mail, so that you're not having somebody fly it or truck it or post office it or whatever. And that's not good enough. We go to email to be green, and now they figure out that using your email too much.
The only solution is mass genocide.
Right. That's exactly right. Now, or there's this. Smoking high-strength cannabis.
Hey, I could get along with that.
Except that they now find out that smoking high-strength cannabis may be damaging nerve fibers in the brain.
Oh, we can't have that.
Studies suggest that high levels of skunk
I thought skunk was bad weed.
Of skunk use may affect the brain's white matter.
Oh, God.
Making communication between the right and left hemispheres of the brain less efficient.
Hey, Beavis, did you hear that?
Yeah. So this white stuff is called the corpus callosum.
Okay.
And so it's suggesting a greater use of skunk may cause damage to that, and then you're not able to talk back and forth inside of your own brain. This is the result of the THC chemicals.
Hey,
so
Babus.
where people said it was natural, I guess it's not, Chris.
I guess not.
Now, we talked about this earlier, but I want to bring it up again real quick. 578 billion. I said over 580 billion, but the national debt spiked from 18.15 trillion to 18.72 trillion.
That's it?
Within 22 days, it spiked 578 billion.
Roll that one up and smoke it.
And that was under the control of new House Speaker Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan, gotta love him.
Now, Chris, we just came through the Thanksgiving season.
Right.
Did you hear the comparison that President Obama made?
I've heard many comparisons, but shoot.
The comparison
Not literally.
I'm specifically talking about is, here's his quote. Nearly 4 centuries after the Mayflower set sail,
Oh, I did hear this crap.
the world is still full of pilgrims.
It's still flat, too.
Apparently, I did not know this, but apparently there are Puritan white people floating around in the oceans of the world just waiting for their Plymouth Rock to hit their boats and landlock them for the next foreseeable 400 years.
I wonder if he sparked that one up when he fired up his doobie.
Men and women, Chris, who want nothing more than a chance for a safer, better future for themselves and their families.
Of course. And free school. And free lunch.
It's what makes America America, is that we offer the chance.
And skunk weed.
and all the skunk, high potent cannabis you can stand.
On Black Friday.
Chris, this is amazing that he's comparing Syrian refugees to Puritan pilgrims.
I didn't know what to say. It's just so stupid. Think about that. Just think about this for a minute.
It with a straight face.
Yes, think about this for a minute. The Puritans came here to get away from persecution. The refugees are coming here from to get away from persecution.
Allegedly.
But the Puritans didn't come from people that were chopping people's heads off with their religion.
Yeah, they were completely the opposite. Puritans were, trying to eliminate any sort of, not technology, because they didn't have a whole bunch, obviously, in the 1600s. But
And they weren't running from their own religion.
From the likes of the
They're
world.
running from another religion.
They were trying to simplify their lifestyles back in the early 1600s.
Yeah. 400 square foot homes in cannabis.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Now, Chris, I want you to tell me what this sounds like.
All right.
You're pretty good at identifying when history is about to repeat itself.
Right.
This comes to us from the Telegraph. DNA matching and virtual reality, the world of online dating in 2040. Chris, technology is going to change the way people date over the next 25 years.
Really?
We're going to be able to, through virtual reality, scan a person's DNA, see if their DNA is a match to ours, and then explore relationship possibilities with people who have compatible DNA.
So does that mean you're going to be sleeping with yourself?
Is this... Well, no. But is this like online eugenics?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You got to figure that the progressive ideology doesn't stop at
are we moving
the computer
past
keyboard.
The point where just looking at somebody and like, man, I think he's attractive or I think she's attractive, that it's not good enough, that people are it's gonna be more important for them in the future to hook up with people who have an attractive genome?
Would it surprise you?
No, I guess it wouldn't.
All righty.
Like, Chris, this is the future of our children.
I understand that, but evil doesn't stop at the keyboard, my friend.
You're right about that.
All right, so look, I want to thank you all for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. So be sure to go to lanterns.buzz, battlefield.buzz. Follow us on Twitter at Paul Revere again and T-Rob Radio. The show Twitter page is Lanterns Buzz. And also go to facebook.com/LanternsBuzz. And by all means, stick with us. If you go to radio.lanternsbuzz, I'm sorry, actually, you can go there, and you can also go to radio.battlefield.buzz, and you can find all of our times for the show. And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.